day 3 of EduWiki week, and we are excited to bring many community stories to you today. And we will start. We'll start with just a round of introduction. My name is Sailesh. I work with the education team as program officer for community support. I have my fellow co-organizer, Clara. Clara, you just want to say hi to everyone?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm happy that it's happening and have a nice and inspirational time today.
Yeah. So along with Clara, we had Violta, Will, Florencia, and the entire education team supporting this EduWiki week, along with all of you who engaged with us in the last 3 days, and this is the 3rd day. So I'm excited. I'm feeling inspired by hearing all the stories from our community. Let's get started with our first presentation. I want to pass it to Dr. Radhika and Kripal Kashyap to share their work.
Hello, everyone. I'll share my screen first. Okay. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I should add. This is our presentation, or this is our story. So here we are, Praveen Garimella, Harsha Pamidipalli, and myself, Radhika Mamidi. We will take you through our story in developing wiki articles in Indian languages. So we are from IIIT Hyderabad. This is in India. A very warm good evening to all of you from India. So I will walk you through the outline. So I give a bit of background of Indian languages and take you through our own project, which we call as Indic Wiki project. Introduce you to the approaches that we are following and the key learnings from the project. And the focus of the talk is what we are calling as micro content development, and then a demo. So introducing about Wikipedia, as all of you know that, sorry, let me just minimize some of these screens here. Okay. Yeah, so all of us, I don't have to go through Wikipedia. All of us are part of Wikipedia community. But here, if we look at Indian scenario, most of us look at English Wikipedia for information. But given India, this is the map of South Asian countries, you can see that there are many language families here. Hyderabad is somewhere here. And there are 22 scheduled languages and more than 700, 800 languages that are spoken, though we have resources for nearly 150 languages. So when we are talking of Indian languages, we are not even covering 700, we are not even covering 150 languages. We are just talking about a few languages only. So for example, Hindi has a little about 1 lakh articles, and Telugu, these are the 2 languages we are focusing on in our project for the moment. And then our goal is to extend the technology to enhance articles in other languages. So in this group, you see that there are only 2 languages from India, and about 10,000 plus articles. We have 6 languages. And Telugu has about 74,000 articles. And our goal is to produce at least 4 lakh articles in Telugu using technology. So to do this, we have adopted a 4-pronged approach. That is, we are developing resources. development of content, development of community, and of course using technology to develop the articles in the language. So for this, we are connecting with government agencies, state government, central government, Wikimedia Foundation, and then we are trying to connect with local universities and non-government organizations to connect with the community. So at the same time, as part of our education drive, we are also training many volunteers, people who are students, people who are housewives, journalists. We have, just people who have retired from their professions but are very good in Telugu, or who have passion for Telugu. We have trained more than 2,000 plus people so far. And we have also given training programs to many interns from computer science background. So that's the community we are talking about. And then we have discussions with the state government, central government, because they are the ones, as you know, India is a very vast country, and the local government is where we are trying to connect to spread our network. Basically, we are looking at these four development in these four areas. So community is both the technical and non-technical people. Content development, we are trying to do it using technology, using manuals, say from scratch. And for developing any of these things, what we are talking as human-bot collaboration, this we are relying on. And I'll just show you the architecture we are talking about in a bit. So meanwhile, these are the domains we are working on. And we have, basically we are looking for resources, like for whichever domain the large amount of databases available, we are using that. Similarly, if there are lots of unstructured data available for any particular domain, we are also taking that. So for content development, basically, we are looking one specific domain at a time. So gathering resources helps us to accelerate content creation. We are making use of both structured as well as unstructured data. And we are using natural language processing tools, natural language generation tools, information extraction tools to extract information from unstructured data and create databases if readily available databases are not available. And then as it is used in many languages, we are also using machine translation techniques for converting not just articles, but also to create databases in our own languages so that we can generate articles using technology. So these are some of the domains we have worked on, and these are the computer science interns. You can see the numbers. These are number of articles by the students who had joined us in summer as part of the internship training program. Then these are students, in-house students only, as part of the project or as part of any internship program. They had developed all this. So most of the articles were developed as part of the education drive or internship drive. Similarly, lots of articles were created by community who did not have technology background, but still we tried to even give them training in using technology like mobile phones, laptop, so basic technical skills were given to them, because those are very important in creating articles. So we do have, if you visit our page, we do have training material that is available in Indian languages as well, not just English. And in a bit, we will show you from our demonstration the flow of article creation using technology. At every stage, we see that there is human and bot collaboration, whether it is extracting information from unstructured data or template generation from structured data. There is a bot. Similarly, to upload articles from Sandbox to the main Wikipedia, we are using. So this is the workflow we have. So from content domains, whether both unstructured and structured data, once it is reviewed by a human editor, they are given interface from where semi-structured data is converted to structured data. If, like I said, if the data is in another language, say English, we are translating that data, and then the template is created, and using bot raw Indic pages, that is the articles are created, and then again there is a subject expert who goes through the articles, and then once the subject expert is satisfied, then using bot, other things are inserted in the article like any other wiki bots do. Then this is a sandboxed wiki where most of our work is carried on. From here, we upload it to the universal or the global Wikipedia. This is a flow of our and you can see that the editors or the subject experts, they ensure the quality of the articles. Now, we see that we had conducted lots of workshops, we had conducted lots of internship programs, hackathons, gamification, and then we also launched wiki clubs across many colleges. But we see that there was still a lack of the number that we were expecting from such programs. So on reflection, we see that most people in India, especially educated people we are talking about, they cannot read or write well in their mother tongue. So they have education in English language, and they may not be very well in the native language. Similarly, there are people who are experts in the native language, but they may be low with respect to the digital literacy. So to create articles in, say, Telugu or Hindi, you need very good knowledge of both the languages, which is lacking. And then we also see that unlike in other Wikipedian communities, the culture of volunteering is very less in India. So also today mobile phones is accessible with everybody, but creating large articles, larger content using mobile phones, there are many challenges. So based on all these lessons, we have seen that people are very comfortable in adding small content or perform small tasks. Whether it is on their phone or laptop, we have seen that people are also motivated when it comes to adding micro content. With that, the actual gist of our talk is that we have revised our strategy for developing articles. And with that, I hand over to my colleague Praveen to introduce you to our new strategy of what we are calling as MCD. Over to you, Praveen.
Thank you, Dr. Radhika. And so that's a very nice introduction to why we need this idea of micro content development. And it is not very new to the Wikipedia community that all the articles are built with micro edits, right? And edits actually matter a lot. And we have learned from that idea, and then we wanted to use technology to amplify our effort to create content and also to make sure that we are verifying the content, correcting the content, and so on. So the big task was to somehow break this down into smaller sub-problems for human experts to spend very little time of their attention and then complete that micro task. And then the technology has to do the rest in terms of consolidating all of that work into a complete article. And we attempted several strategies using this philosophy. And one of the things that we thought would be very useful is constant monitoring in terms of how the editors are actually performing, and then trying to see if there's some support that the editors can be given. Access to smartphones is much better than access to computers. So micro edits may only take a few minutes, and getting access to a smartphone is a lot easier. So we have been looking at a mobile first strategy. Auto content generation from structured data, that really worked well in our computer science internship, where a whole bunch of engineering students have contributed by writing scripts to automatically generate natural language pages. However, the natural language generation comes with not perfect results. So there are going to be a lot of errors, and we needed a strategy to take care of those errors, to identify them and to correct them. And that's where, again, the whole bunch of tools that were developed as part of that. And we are going to demonstrate one of those tools in a little bit. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Dr. Radhika, next slide, please.
Yeah, I am moving. One second.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So there are two different aspects of the technology development that we were handling. One was the technology infrastructure. Infrastructure is a common thing which is very similar to the Wikipedia. So the second one is the most important one, which is the productivity enhancement tools. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, it's not moving quickly.
No problem. So in the demo that we have planned to show, we are going to look at the micro content development platform, which essentially shows how Wikipedia articles which are automatically generated using programs can actually be corrected with very little effort in terms of the learning that is involved from various editors. So due to the time factor, I'm going to have Harsha switch over and then show a quick demonstration of the MCD platform. I think we have about 3 minutes time, and Harsha, I request you to please take over.
Yes. I request Dr. Radhika ma'am to stop sharing the screen so I can share.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello all. Let's just take a quick deep dive into the domain-specific platform. This is a productivity tool. As it was mentioned before, we collect data from various sources and we gather into one database. And then we perform translation and transliteration using automated tools. And this, the output that's generated gets saved into an Excel sheet of this sort, where we have two columns for each attribute. Let's say this, for example, here it's movies. So we have synopsis, songs, etc., etc. Each one, there is the English version of it that we gathered and the automatically translated version. Here in this case, it's Telugu language. And this gets passed on to the human language experts or content editors. And they have to correct, cross-check between the English and the Telugu one and make the necessary edits. And this becomes a very tedious task when some certain cells have such huge paras. It's very irritating to go back and forth and correct it in the Excel sheet. Not only that, another difficulty is posed when the data itself in each cell is a structured data. Like here it's a dictionary of lists, and that's very bothersome. And in order to improve the productivity of the editors, we have developed a platform, web app, where it's much more streamlined and they can see all the attributes to the left and they can see the respective English and the Telugu values on the right, and they can easily edit it over here. Quickly going through, I'll show you these features in the demo itself. here a collection just refers to a group of rows. So in books case, it's 100 books and so on. And this allows us to keep track of who's responsible for that collection. And that's why we made collections. And going into a particular book, we can see the different attributes. And one feature is full screen editing mode. We can expand it further to edit much more easily. And another important feature over here could be the safe edit mode, where if you are in a safe edit mode, you cannot accidentally remove the syntax, the commas and the brackets. These will not be allowed to accidentally remove. If you have to add it, you can exit the safe edit mode. And one quick feature would be the progress. You can see the collective progress made across different collections and who was the editor responsible for that one. That would be all quickly. Back to Radhika ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Harsha. So we have many things more to share, maybe next time. So thank you, everybody. We have a summer. Basically, our story goes like we went with one approach, and by observing the community or the challenges the community was facing, we had to change our approach, and MCT is one of the successful techniques, I would say, we had adopted. And I hope this will be useful in enhancing articles in other languages as well. With that, I thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to present our work. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, Clara, do you want to introduce the next speaker?
Yes. Thank you, Radhika, and your colleague. It was so interesting for me also. And can you hear me? Yes. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the next speech was pre-recorded, but it's in Polish. But there are English subtitles, so I hope it will be well seen. And please listen to Maria Weronika Kmoch. She's the teacher from Poland, from a high school, and also a new Wikipedian who has already become editor because she's so into Wikipedia, and especially did you hear me or not?
Couple of minutes, we lost the voice.
You're good now. We can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, because there was some problem. So the next video was pre-recorded, but it is in Polish, but there are English subtitles, so I hope it will be well seen. And this is a speech from Maria Weronika Kmoch. She is a teacher from high school in Warsaw, the capital of Poland. And also she is a new Wikipedian, but also she has already become a very advanced Wikipedian, writing, for example, 40 biographies about women into Polish Wikipedia in 1 month. So here, listen to her speech about how Wikipedia is her biggest hobby now.
Dziś opowiem o tym, jak wygląda moja wikipedystyczna dotychczasowa przygoda i gdzie jest w tym wszystkim miejsce na herstorię. Czy warto zajmować się herstorią na Wikipedii? Pytanie retoryczne. I jak to robić w szkole i poza nią? Konto założyłam w 2013 roku, ale oprócz kilku początkowych edycji leżało odłogiem. Coś tam napisałam, coś poprawiłam, głównie w hasłach regionalnych, na przykład o mojej rodzinnej wsi Jednorożec, o pobliskiej wsi Żelazna Rządowa. nie zdawałam sobie jednak sprawy, że nie mogę przeklejać tekstów z własnego bloga, bo choć i tu pisze ta sama osoba, to jest to naruszenie praw autorskich. To przeklejone, skopiowane słowo w słowo. Potem pochłonęły mnie studia i zapomniałam o edytowaniu Wikipedii, choć cały czas z niej korzystałam. W 2016 roku zaczęłam pracę w pierwszym społecznym liceum ogólnokształcącym Bednarska w Warszawie i Wikipedia pojawiała się na moich lekcjach. Korzystałam z Wikimedia Commons, na przykład pokazywałam obrazy i zdjęcia, które omawialiśmy, oraz z projektu Wiki Źródła. Używałam tekstów źródłowych. Wiosną 2018 roku wraz z osobami uczącymi się w klasach drugich poprawialiśmy hasła o naszej szkole i zespole szkół. Motywacją była chęć upamiętnienia człowieka, który właśnie zmarł, a był naszym absolwentem i jednocześnie pracownikiem Wikimedia Polska. To było moje pierwsze edytowanie Wikipedii na lekcjach, ale zupełnie nie wiedziałam, jak to robić, by nic nie zepsuć. Nie pamiętałam, jak się edytuje, bo od założenia konta trochę minęło. Ja zapomniałam swojego hasła, więc pisaliśmy je w Wordzie. Miałam to później umieścić na Wikipedii, ale spanikowałam i zapomniałam to zrobić. Najlepsze jednak miało dopiero nadejść. W 2020 roku wiosną pomyślałam, że warto wykorzystać Wikipedię w edukacji, ale w innym ujęciu. Chciałam zrobić coś ciekawego dla osób, które nie rozszerzają historii, co będzie zajmujące, co też wyjdzie poza nasze lekcje, nie będzie tylko jakimś zaliczeniem, które zobaczę tylko ja i nikt inny. Chciałam też postawić na umiejętności. Włączyłam się w projekt Nieznane Kobiety Wikipedii, który jest organizowany co roku w marcu z okazji Dnia Kobiet i trwa cały miesiąc. Inspiracją był post, który zobaczyłam na Facebooku Wikimedia Polska i informacja o tym, że tylko 1 na 5 biogramów w Wikipedii albo i mniej to biogram kobiety i że tak mało jest edytujących kobiet. Tak bardzo chciałam zrobić coś historycznego, a tematyka była mi bliska i wiedziałam, że jest ważna, że nie myślałam o technikaliach. Zaplanowałam szkolną edycję projektu i przyszła pandemia. Po chwili przerażenia uznałam, że będzie to dobry pomysł na lekcje online. Około 75 osób uczących się w klasach drugich pisało biogramy wybranych bohaterek. Założyłam dokument Google, w którym w tabeli można było wpisać skład zespołu, 2-4 osoby oraz proponowaną bohaterkę. Opiekę nad projektem sprawowały 2 osoby ze społeczności wikipedystycznej, Klarka i TR. Przychodzili do nas na lekcje online, tłumaczyli podstawy edytowania Wikipedii i zasobów Wikimedia Commons, sprawdzali brudnopisy haseł. Finalnie powstały 32 nowe hasła, a jedno zostało rozbudowane. Osoby zainteresowane sportem wybrały bohaterkę ze swojej ulubionej dziedziny. Ktoś lubiący rysować napisał o twórczyni komiksów. Były bohaterki historyczne, współczesne i nawet fikcyjne, z książek czy bajek. Ktoś napisał o prababci, bo była osobą zasłużoną. Były osoby, które przeprowadziły wywiady na potrzeby hasła i opublikowały teksty na oficjalnych stronach www osób, o których pisały. Były też osoby, które napisały więcej niż jedno hasło. Wiele biogramów pisano od zera, niektóre tłumaczono z innojęzycznych Wikipedii. Akcja była też mobilizacją dla mnie, bym reaktywowała konto. Jeśli oni pracowali, to i ja chciałam to robić, bo przewidywałam, że jeśli będę edytować, to będę lepiej mogła im pomóc, znając ewentualne trudności. Nie pisałam nowych haseł, bo byłam zbyt przejęta koordynacją tak dużego projektu, ale rozbudowałam 2 już istniejące. Osoby uczniowskie doceniły swobodę w działaniu, bezpośredni kontakt, bo można było umówić się na konsultacje ze mną, oraz to, że praca weszła do przestrzeni ogólnodostępnej, została pokazana światu, może przydać się innym. Cieszyły się, że zajmują się historią kobiet. To działanie oparte o Wikipedię, przeprowadzone w sumie przez nowicjuszkę, stało się hitem. Rozpoczęło moją historyczną przygodę z Wikipedią. Dało mi pewność siebie, było czymś, co nawet po skończeniu szkoły osoby absolwenckie wspominają bardzo dobrze. W 2020 roku wielokrotnie mówiłam lub mówili o tym działaniu inni na konferencjach, w podcastach i tym podobne. Pozytywny feedback dodał mi skrzydeł, więc nic dziwnego, że w 2021 roku powtórzyłam projekt Nieznane kobiety w Wikipedii. Wiosną hasła pisali ludzie uczący się w klasach drugich. Pracowaliśmy na lekcjach historii społeczeństwa, ponownie w grupach. Część osób zdecydowała się skorzystać z moich propozycji, bo kilka miesięcy przed akcją stworzyłam dokument Google, w którym w tabeli zebrałam nazwiska kobiet, których biogramów nie ma na polskojęzycznej Wikipedii, a warto je napisać. A inni samodzielnie wybrali bohaterkę. I znów była opieka doświadczonych wikipedystów, a byli to Piastu, Adam T. i Wiatoro. Powstało 28 nowych haseł, a 4 zostały rozbudowane i znów były ciekawe historie. Grupa dziewcząt rozbudowała hasło o Aleksandrii Ocasio-Cortez, która ich inspiruje. Osoby, które rozszerzały hiszpański, napisały o słynnej matadorce. Osoba o gruzińskich korzeniach przygotowała biogram prawniczki i feministki z tego właśnie kraju. Powstało też jedno hasło tematyczne – Antyfaszystowski Front Kobiet Bośni i Hercegowiny. Ja napisałam aż 42 hasła. Bardzo się wkręciłam i czasem nie mogłam wręcz przestać. To po prostu szło samo. Czułam się jak na skrzydłach. Jesienią 2021 roku akcja wikipedystyczna była częścią protygodnia dla osób z klas trzecich. To czas, kiedy przygotowujemy ciekawe propozycje dla osób, które skończyły już podstawowy kurs przedmiotowy, w tym historii, której ja uczę. Z listy można wybrać sobie jeden projekt, który realizuje się przez tydzień. Czasem biorą w nim udział 3 osoby, czasem 20. W jesiennej edycji projektu historycznego, który po raz pierwszy udało się przeprowadzić w wersji na żywo, tylko 2 gościnie łączyły się z nami online, wzięło udział 15 osób. I chciałam, by tym razem nie było to tylko pisanie haseł, nie tylko uzupełnianie brakującej połowy dziejów w największej encyklopedii świata. Chciałam czegoś więcej. Dlatego zaprosiłam do współdziałania. Po pierwsze, naszą polonistkę Anetę Korecińską, by opowiedziała o inkluzywnym języku. Dlaczego nie powinniśmy pisać o Bushmanach i Indianach, jak napisać o kobiecie nie przez pryzmat na przykład jej przynależności do mężczyzny, czyjaś żona, oraz dlaczego takie słowa jak makaroniarz, prusek albo czekoladka na określenie ludzi nie są właściwe. Po drugie, historyczkę Agnieszkę Jankowiak-Majk z Poznania, by opowiedziała o tym, dlaczego potrzebujemy narracji o kobietach w historii, czym są herstoria i studia gender oraz dlaczego nie chcemy, byśmy stali się częścią efektu Matyldy. Następnie aktywistkę i feministkę Martynę Kaczmarek, która opowiedziała m.in. o luce płacowej, o nierównościach w dostępie do toalet oraz presji nakładanej podczas socjalizacji w wieku dziecięco-nastoletnim, a tak ogólnie o tym, dlaczego wszyscy potrzebujemy feminizmu. I wreszcie Klarę Sierlicką-Baryłkę z Wikimedia Polska, która przedstawiła najważniejsze zasady rządzące Wikipedią, wskazała, skąd biorą się zdjęcia w Wikipedii oraz nauczyła młodzież edytować hasła. Był cały dzień wspólnego pisania haseł, który nadzorowałam. Była wizyta w Muzeum Historii Żydów Polskich Polin, by obejrzeć wystawy pod kątem obecności lub nieobecności kobiet i narracji na ich temat. Był spacer po Warszawie śladami księżnej Marii Ludwiki Czartoryskiej jako przykład mikroherstorii. Była refleksja nad tym, co możemy zrobić, by w naszej szkole było jeszcze bezpieczniej, inkluzywniej, by każda osoba dobrze się tam czuła. Był wspólny jesienny obiad i oczywiście upominki z Wikimedia Polska. Bohaterki wybraliśmy inspirując się książką Kronika Kobiet z 1994 roku. Szukaliśmy tych, które nie miały swoich haseł w polskojęzycznej Wikipedii. Poza tym udało się rozbudować istniejące 2 hasła. Łącznie powstało i rozbudowanych zostało, uwzględniając te, które ja napisałam, 40 biogramów. Tworzenie opowieści, weryfikacja źródeł informacji, współpraca i wsparcie bardziej doświadczonych, a także wspólny cel to ważne wartości i umiejętności, które daje program Wikishkoła. W świecie pełnym podziałów, polaryzacji, wszechobecnej narracji o tym, jak zła jest dzisiejsza młodzież i że nie potrafi mądrze korzystać z internetu, projekty oparte o Wikipedię pokazują, że nie tylko może być, ale jest inaczej. Tak wypowiedziałam się na temat Wikipedii w ulotce przygotowanej w 2021 roku przez Wikimedia Polska. I są to wnioski ze szkolnych projektów historycznych. Sprawczość, którą poczułam pisząc hasła w ramach projektów szkolnych i koordynując je, chciałam rozszerzać. Wzięłam udział w kilku akcjach i tygodniach tematycznych. To była motywacja do wyjścia z bańki i poszukania tematów w obszarach, których jeszcze nie eksplorowałam. Na przykład tydzień artykułu azerskiego albo tydzień Euroregionu Bałtyk. Zawsze jednak piszę biogramy kobiet. To dlatego, że jednocześnie jestem członkinią Wiki Projektu Kobiety, który jest projektem ciągłym. Miłym dodatkiem jest umieszczenie biogramu, który napisałam na stronie głównej w Czywieszu. To docenienie historycznej pracy. Wikipedia na pewno pozwoliła mi otworzyć się na historię regionalną, a tym się zajmuję nie tylko w ujęciu kurpiowskim, z tego regionu pochodzę, ale też szerzej. Pisałam hasła o Wielkopolankach, Ślązaczkach, Pomorzankach, kobietach związanych z Zamościem, Kaliszem i Lublinem. Napisałam też kilkanaście haseł o Żydówkach. Zdarzało się pisać o arystokratkach i ziemiankach, choć wcześniej się nimi nie zajmowałam. Mam na koncie księżne, malarki, aktorki, fotografki, tancerki, działaczki społeczne, posłanki, historyczki, artystki, nauczycielki. Sporo napisałam o Niemkach i o warszawiankach. Szczególnie zaintrygowała mnie jedna kobieta spoza Kurpiowszczyzny. W 2021 roku w kwietniu zaczęłam pracę nad biogramem Florentyny Pojdowej, powstanki śląskiej i działaczki plebiscytowej. Zainteresowałam się nią, bo jej biogram jako jedynej nie powstał w ramach akcji Nieznane Kobiety w Wikipedii w zeszłym roku, choć nazwisko było na liście propozycji. Pracę prowadziłam przez kilka miesięcy, skontaktowałam się z rodziną, zamówiłam materiały archiwalne, szukałam w starej prasie. Finalnie w listopadzie opublikowałam opowieść o Florentynie i też o wikipedystycznej pracy w miesięczniku Śląsk, a potem rozbudowałam jej biogram na Wikipedii. Jestem z tego śledztwa bardzo dumna. Poszukiwania pozwoliły mi też poznać wspaniałe osoby ze Śląska, z którymi teraz współpracuję. Hasło na Wikipedii o Florentynie Pojdowej oraz wizyta w Muzeum Narodowym w Warszawie podczas zlotu nauczycielek wykorzystujących Wikipedię w edukacji, który odbył się w sierpniu 2021 roku, zainspirowały mnie do przygotowania tekstów na portal historiaposzukaj.pl, gdzie od jesieni ukazują się moje artykuły. We wrześniu 2021 roku pojawił się kolejny pomysł. Chciałam wyjść z wikipedystycznym działaniem do ludzi spoza szkoły. Zbiegło się to z rozwojem mojego konta na Instagramie, na którym coraz więcej i częściej pokazywałam to, co robię w szkole, jak pracuję. Dzieliłam się informacjami historycznymi, kulisami pracy historyczki regionalistki i wymyśliłam serię Herstoria w niedzielę. Na stories co tydzień opowiadam o wybranej kobiecie, która mnie zafascynowała. Czasem pozwalałam ludziom z 3 propozycji wybrać osobę, o której napiszę, czasem wybierałam sama. Zawsze są to osoby, o których pisałam hasła na Wikipedii lub te, których hasła rozbudowałam. Wybrałam fioletowe tło do kafelków oraz białą czcionkę, nawiązując do kolorów używanych przez sufrażystki. Każdy kafelek jest opatrzony zdjęciem, każde stories kończy się spisem bibliografii oraz listą źródeł ikonograficznych. Materiał przygotowuję w Canwie, zazwyczaj podczas przygotowania znajduję nowe informacje, a dzięki temu później rozbudowuję hasło na Wikipedii. Czasem inspiracją jest jakaś rocznica, czasem po prostu osoba, której hasło napisałam niedawno. Po każdej publikacji zapisuję stories wyróżnionych, gdzie wisi przez tydzień, aż do kolejnej opowieści. Relacje są też dostępne na moim prywatnym profilu na Facebooku, bo udostępniam je automatycznie z Instagrama. Staram się pisać skróconą wersję tego, co jest w haśle i na koniec stories linkować biogram na Wikipedii, by można było tam przeczytać więcej. Generalnie dostaję pozytywny feedback na temat przedstawionych historii, herstory. Ktoś mi powiedział, że dana bohaterka śniła się jej w nocy. Ktoś zaczął pisać hasła na Wikipedii dzięki stories. Czytają je i reagują na nie osoby, których nie podejrzewałam o zainteresowanie herstorią. To zazwyczaj kobiety, co jest bardzo cenne, bo zależy mi na ich wzmacnianiu, ale nie tylko. Dzięki serii Herstoria w niedzielę zawarłam wartościowe znajomości internetowe. Jestem w fajnym, wspierającym się gronie instagramowych kont herstorycznych. Mam też kontakt z herstoryczkami działającymi na skalę ogólnopolską. Seria Herstoria w niedzielę stała się platformą do popularyzacji historii lokalnej, do odkrywania na Mazowszu kobiet, o których nie wiedziałam. Kafelki zaczęłam publikować też na moim fanpage'u Kurpianka w Wielkim Świecie. We wrześniu 2021 roku, aplikując o ogólnopolską nagrodę imienia Ireny Sendlerowej za naprawianie świata, zgłosiłam moje herstoryczne działania jako jedne z głównych aktywności, to co robię w szkole. Doceniono je, ponieważ zostałam jedną z 10 osób nominowanych do nagrody. W uznaniu działań edukacyjnych bazujących na Wikipedii, a wszystkie, które podejmuję, to herstoria, zostałam zaproszona do Stowarzyszenia Wikimedia Polska. Pisanie haseł na Wikipedii, herstorii mnie odpręża. Wszędzie widzę inspirację. Gdy przeglądam social media i trafię na jakieś nazwisko, od razu sprawdzam, czy ta osoba ma biogram w Wikipedii. Jeśli nie, wpisuję nazwisko na długaśną listę w dokumencie Google, na której zbieram inspirację. W wolnej chwili siadam i przeglądam listę, wybierając postać, o której mam ochotę napisać. Czasem kieruję się długością hasła źródłowego, bo często piszę hasła, które mają odpowiedniki w anglo- albo innojęzycznych Wikipediach. Czasem ważniejsza jest dziedzina, w której działała dana osoba. Jednego dnia mam ochotę na etnografię, innego na malarstwo. A może właśnie jest rocznica powstań śląskich, powstania wielkopolskiego albo powstania styczniowego i chcę napisać o kobietach, które walczyły o niepodległą Polskę. Może właśnie usłyszałam tajlandzką piosenkę albo obejrzałam indyjski film. Za wyborem każdej z bohaterek stoi jakaś historia, kryje się konkretny impuls, który mnie pchnął do działania. W ciągu ostatnich miesięcy nierzadko wybierałam, kupowałam i czytałam książki pod kątem brakujących herstorii w Wikipedii. Gdy widzę wpis na innym herstorycznym koncie, na przykład na Instagramie, to sprawdzam, czy istniejące już hasło, czy istnieje hasło, jak nie, to je rozbudowuję, poprawiam. Gdy już coś napiszę, linkuję biogram pod postami na Facebooku albo Instagramie, w których dana postać została wspomniana. Nierzadko odzywają się osoby z rodziny. Dziękuję za pamięć, za napisanie biogramu, za docenienie ich ciotek, matek, prababek. Ogromną wartością jest taki female power, który czuję po napisaniu chociażby jednego krótkiego hasła. Nie zawsze dana kobieta musiała być w czymś pierwsza, najlepsza, bardzo znana. Po prostu pokazałam światu jej herstorię. Na ten rok planuję udział w marcowej akcji Nieznane kobiety w Wikipedii. Zainicjowałam jedną z kategorii projektu, to jest hasła o kobietach z regionu kurpiowskiego. W szkole Wikipedia w postaci pisania biogramów kobiet pojawi się podczas protygodnia już w kwietniu, a później w październiku. Kolejne osoby uczące się w Bednarskiej będą pisać herstorie na Wikipedii. Na pewno pojawiły się też inne pomysły na działania wikipedystyczne i herstoryczne, bo głowa mi od nich buzuje. Podsumowując, tak, to jest warte wysiłku. Pisanie herstorii na Wikipedii i dzielenie się nimi ze światem, czy to jako nauczycielka, koordynująca szkolne projekty, uczestnicząca w nich, czy jako osoba prywatna daje niesamowitego kopa, inspiruje, pomaga też w codziennych wysiłkach. Skoro te, o których piszę, dały radę i często w trudniejszych warunkach historycznych, to ja też dam radę. I ty też. Dziękuję.
That's a great session, Clara. And sorry, Maria and Clara, thanks for doing this recording for her and bring it for us today.
I will tell Maria your feedback from chat. And thank you all for listening to her. And moving on.
Yeah, we have Tochi. Do we have you here?
I'm here.
Awesome. Great. The floor is yours.
Oh, all right. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. My name is Tochi, and I'm from Nigeria. I'm one of the founding members of the Igbo Wikimedia user group. Hi, Melissa. And I'm also a Wikipedian in residence at the Moleskine Foundation, where we work under the Wiki Africa Education Project. So today I'm here to talk about the Afro-curation event, which is one of the programs under the Wiki Africa Education Project, and our experiences so far and how you can join as a Wikimedian to host one in your community or to work with a cultural organization to host one in your community. So I'm going to be sharing my slide. All right. So first of all, I'm just going to do a brief of what the Moleskine Foundation is all about. The Moleskine Foundation is actually a non-profit organization, and its mission is creativity for social change. And its purpose is actually to inspire and encourage and also connect young people, especially, to transform themselves and their communities through creativity. So we've been doing this through providing educational tools and cultural experiences that would enhance critical thinking, creative doing, and also lifelong learning. Now, under the Moleskine Foundation, you'll find the Wiki Africa Education Program. One of the preconditions of creativity, which we all know about, is knowledge. For you to be creative, you need knowledge. You need knowledge either in your field of work, knowledge of your history, knowledge of your culture, and so on and so forth. So in Wiki Africa Education, we lead participants to increase production of online knowledge resources from Africa, especially. And we've been doing this through equipping them with the skills to become knowledge producers. So most times people actually get to say Africans are knowledge consumers, and we barely produce knowledge, or maybe there's just few Africans who produce knowledge. So we want to change that narrative, we want to change the gender of a single story, the danger of a single story. We want to get more young Africans to be more creative, to help tell the African story, and not just for us to consume whatever has been written about Africa. So the program leads participants to build critical thinking skills and also critical consumption of information. So we don't just train them to produce or to think critically, but also to consume the information in a critical way. So you just don't consume every information you see on the internet, hook, line, and sinker. And it also inspires stakeholders, showcasing the Wiki Africa education mindset through works produced. Now I'm going to some of the problems we actually noticed or observed before we started the Wiki Africa education program. And some of these problems were that the African continent, its people and languages are underrepresented. So I did a survey just shortly before I came online. There was this survey that was talking about like trying to bring up other languages, other global languages to be on the internet, not the ones that assume that they are major languages. So this is one of the things, one of the problems we are trying to solve, this problem of underrepresented languages on the internet. And
sorry. Oh, it's okay. I was just saying that your screen was not visible, but it is now.
Oh, all right. Okay, sorry. So it's believed that the African content, its people and its languages are underrepresented. So this is one of the ways we've been trying to put Africa on the internet. And secondly, education systems are not developing the skills young Africans need to contribute to global knowledge networks, which is actually very true. You get to see a whole lot of Africans going to study outside Africa, and this is simply because the education systems are not enough for developing the skills of young Africans that we need to contribute to global knowledge networks. And also that creativity is not being developed within these young Africans, although it's critical for building self-awareness. So we know that creativity is critical for building self-awareness, but it's still not yet well developed. Now, another problem was that knowledge concerning Africa is systematically organized and recorded and digitized. So we want to kind of organize knowledge about Africa systematically, record it and digitize it, then make it accessible online. So one of the ways in which this manifested itself, I'm going to go deeper into it, is when I get to the Afro-curation was in Mozambique. I'm going to give you like a proper overview when we get there. So the next thing we want to achieve is that a sustained large-scale mobilization of African creative thinkers and knowledge creators who would also act as a force for social change and ensure African presence and relevance in global knowledge networks. So now I'm coming into Afro-curation, and I'm going to tell you about our experiences, what we've done so far, and how interesting and fulfilling the Afro-curation events have been. Our event called Afro-curation is actually a mass Wikipedia editing session where we write articles, improve articles, or translate articles. And then Afro-curation events create a context of creativity, knowledge, and also activism, where participants can then deliver on the aims of knowledge production. The immediate tangible outputs are Wikipedia entries on African content by young Africans under a curated team with a focus on using African languages. So we're even more focused on adding more African languages to Wikipedia, increasing the number of articles we have in African languages, African language Wikipedias. So this is a saying, or just, do I call it a quote from one of the participants of the Afro-curation. Her name is Precious Tatani. And she said that Afro-curation made her feel empowered. It made her have the realization that representation is vital, and our languages also have a place to be documented for future generations. So this is one of the fulfillments you get when you train these new editors in Afro-curation events. So I'm going to talk about our Afro-curation events from 2021. The Afro-curation events actually started in 2019, but I'm going to majorly talk about the 2021 event, which were the time, which was actually the time I became a Wikipedian in residence with the Moleskine Foundation. And then I'll give you an overview of the events in 2019 and 2019 and 2020. So for the Afro-curation event series in 2021-2022, we kind of called it an event series. And then it was under a theme, Who We Are. There's in this, like where I come from, if you don't know where you're coming from, if you don't know who you are, where you're coming from, you wouldn't even know where you're going. So this event series, we titled it Who We Are. Now we had cultural partners, participants, and then these cultural partners in various countries, actually, they interpreted this theme of who we are under sub-themes to represent who they are. When we worked in Mozambique, they interpreted it according to their own who they are. So it just depends on the cultural partners and how they want to interpret it. Now, the goal of the Afro-curation event series for 2021-2022 were to create at least 300 new Wikipedia articles, to have 5 cultural institutions trained on how to deliver the Afro-curation format, and also on how to contribute to Wikimedia projects. Now, the next one was also to create knowledge across 10 African languages, of which one is a new Wikipedia language. Another one was to inspire and build the capacity of about 300 new contributors to become knowledge producers, and also build the capacity and support 20 movement organizers in the 10 target African languages. So we had events. We started in October. We had events in Mozambique. We planned to have 5 series of events. We had events in Mozambique. We had events in South Africa. We had an event in Zimbabwe. We're still planning another event in South Africa, and also between Italy, like a Politecnico, like that's a university in Italy, and also some Wikimedia communities in Africa. So for the event that was held in Mozambique, it was in partnership with Etale Publishing. It's a publishing company in Mozambique. It was kind of a little bit challenging. It was a challenging moment because I don't speak Portuguese. No one in my team spoke Portuguese. So we had the team of the Etale publishing team was, they spoke English. So it was easier to relate with them compared to the participants who just a select few spoke English, like barely 5 of them spoke English. But this event was very remarkable because the language for editing, which the participants contributed in, was the Makwa language. And this was the first time the Makwa language was actually getting to be on the internet. It was the first time it was digitized. When I was working with Amiri for us to get the language into the incubator, we noticed that there was not even a single blog that was written in this language, not even maybe let's say a Facebook page, like a company Facebook page that was actually written in this language. So it was even a little bit, it was kind of frustrating. And this is a language spoken by over 6 million people. So it was kind of a very emotional moment for us, and also for the participants. They were very happy to get their language to be on Wikipedia, even though it's still in the incubator. And this is also a place where no Wikimedia user group or even an affiliate existed. So this was more like their first time into Wikipedia, and also their first time into writing in their language and also on the internet. They were very glad, they were happy, every one of them. Most of their reasons for participating was they wanted to digitize their language, they wanted to tell people about their culture, they wanted to talk about their geography, their history, and it was a very good moment. At the end of that event, we had over 60 participants that attended. At the moment, we had 193 articles from that event on the Makwa Wikipedia. And I've also been working together with them to see how we can get a Wikimedia user group to start existing in Mozambique, because this is also going to help to make it sustainable, to make the project more sustainable. And during the AfroSyn event that was held last November, they actually participated. They were happy to to write articles about Mozambican actors and actresses, the Mozambican cinema on the Wikipedia, on the Makwa Wikipedia, and also on the Portuguese Wikipedia. Then the next event we had was in South Africa with Constitution Hill. This was in partnership with the Wikimedia South Africa. They were really helpful in this event. They helped to teach the participants, the new editors, on how to create articles. And we created articles in 5 languages of South Africa. we had Zulu, we had Shvenda, we had Xhosa. I know I might not pronounce it well, please pardon me. And 2 other South African languages. At the end of the event, it was also an inspiring moment for the young South Africans because they were glad to
Did we lose Tochi?
I think so. I believe she froze.
Okay. Okay. Yay, we got a bingo. Sorry. That's
write about who we are, and who we are, they interpreted it as people who fought for
Toji, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry, I think I lost it.
Oh, it's okay. Maybe if you can wrap the session in 1 or 2 minutes, then we have the next session.
So the Afro-curation events, so far we've produced over 300 articles and we've had over 200 participants participating. So it's been a good one. We are trying to get wiki communities to co-host Afro-curation events, and for the next one, which is going to take place in March, we are working together with the Twi community from Ghana, and we're also working together with the Swahili community from Tanzania. So so far this has been our experiences. It's been a very good experience so far. We're trying as much as possible to get more Africans to be more creative, and especially in writing in African languages, and also to help share free and educational content to people who on a normal day would not be able to access this content in English language. So it's been a very good and interesting moment. So if you would like to host Afro-curation in your community, or you would like to get in touch to volunteer, you could send me an email at tochiprecious2, and we'll get back to you so we can work together. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about Afro-curation, and you have a good day.
Toji, I was just looking into the chat and everyone is finding it inspiring, and thanks for the amazing work that you are doing and for speaking here today and inspiring all of us. Next, we have an amazing Wikimedian. Do we have Vyolta? Vyolta, do you want to introduce?
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing great. And I really enjoyed Tochi's session right now. That was a great one. Great story.
Thank you.
My name is Vyolta, or most of you call me Vyolka, so I'm okay with Vyolka. I'm the project manager from the Wikimedians of Albanian Language User Group. Right now, I'm based in Albania, and I'm ready to introduce this session, this great session about Erasmus and minority language Wikipedia. So let's hear Rebecca O'Neill from Wikimedia Ireland and Galder Gonzalez from the Basque Wikimedians User Group. I read your a little bit of introduction from your session today, and I cannot wait to hear for more stories. So, Rebecca.
Thank you very much, Velka. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I think Galder is going to be my silent but very encouraging partner for today, if that's okay with everybody. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. It's a delight to follow such an amazing presentation. I'll try not to. It's a hard act to follow. So what we're going to look at today in this session is, I suppose, what we plan on doing, as opposed to what we've just seen, which is wonderful work that has been done. And this is a project that's actually kicking off this year. It's an Erasmus Plus project, an EU-funded one, and it is very new territory for us here in Ireland. So I am Rebecca O'Neill, and I am the project coordinator for the user group Wikimedia Community Ireland. And as I said, I'm being supported today by Galder, who is of the Basque Wikimedians group.
Hello.
Lovely to see you, Galder. So this is an interesting story, and I think for me, it tells a story of how kind of interlocking events can result in big projects like this one. So back in 2020, if we can cast our minds back that far, it feels probably about a decade ago at this point, Liam Wyatt, who a lot of you will know, who's been in the Wikimedia movement for quite some time, suggested me as an interviewee for this podcast called The Europeans, which is an incredible podcast, and I encourage everybody to listen to it. And they were really intrigued by the idea. At the time, I was writing an awful lot of women's biographies. I was writing an article a day for the whole of 2020, so 366 articles that year, and a lot of them were women's biographies, and they were quite intrigued by this idea. So I did a quick interview with them, which went out on their podcast, and a gentleman called Simon Tubb, who is based in Friesland in the Netherlands, heard it and again was quite intrigued and interested by the topic. And he works in an organization called the Learning Hub in Friesland, and they work as a coordinating organization for an awful lot of EU-funded projects with an interest in Friesland, but also with creating connections across the EU. And he heard the story of Women in Red and all of the issues around the gender gap, which exists on many language Wikipedias. And it got him thinking, it's like, is there a project in this? Is there something that we can do? So he approached me via the internet, found my email address and reached out and said, is there something in this? Suggesting this idea of a Wiki Women project. And we had a bit of back and forth. We had a few chats, showed each other cats over the internet on Zoom calls, which I think is normal for an awful lot of us over the last few years. And started talking about, and this project emerged of how we can weave together minority language Wikipedias, which both Irish and the Frisian language would be, and interweave that into kind of this Erasmus Plus system, which goes together across the EU. So having had those initial conversations, as I said, heavily inspired by the Women in Red, but also its language alternatives as well, framing it within the idea of generating content and looking to encourage young people in particular, so school age, secondary school age children and pupils to write in their minority languages, looking initially at Irish and Frisian and how we can have an interplay between those two language communities. And what emerged from that was looking at the local, what we call the missing or the unknown, the untapped women as this kind of overarching subject. So that's kind of the subject area in which this project would sit. So addressing that gender gap that we're all so aware of, but also promoting those minority languages and, these quote unquote unknown histories that we all talk about, and addressing one of the notable gaps. But having this crossover of not only creating content, but empowering young people in particular to not only tap into those lesser known histories in their local context, but to do so within their native language as well. So across 2020, myself and Simon started hatching a cunning plan. And out of these initial conversations, we started kind of mapping how what would become a 3-year project would develop. And this is when I tapped Galder, because having seen his presentations over the years and knowing the amazing work that he was doing, I knew that particularly the Basque group were seasoned facilitators and editors in this space. So I was quite conscious that in Ireland we didn't have that much experience working with this particular age group, so say like 14 to 16-year-old secondary school students and pupils. In the Friesland context, they had done some work within schools, but not using exclusively Wikimedia projects. So I felt that we kind of needed to leverage somebody with kind of experience and knowledge to ensure that we had kind of a strong basis to start with, so that they had a strong kind of, I suppose, teaching and pragmatic element to it. So that's when we invited Galder into the project and the Basque Wikimedian user group and one of their schools in their context as well. So using the structure of Erasmus Plus, which is this multi-year funding cycle, so that this will happen over 3 years and will have certain outputs, which I'll outline now in a minute. But also, obviously, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's plenty of projects that have happened all across the world that have used Wikimedia projects, and in particular Wikipedia in smaller languages, that there are plenty of resources that we can also tap into. And of course, in the meantime, reading Wikipedia in the classroom has also come to fruition. So there's all sorts of best practice and interesting contextual information that we can draw into this. So looking to build on and create, I suppose, those kind of localized materials which are specific to the language groups that we're working with, but also then can be taken and further adapted into other contexts as needs be. The pandemic, as it does with all things over the last few years, did impact the schedule. We had hoped to, the funding window was due to open early in 2021, but in the end, it was kind of summer 2021 by the time the deadline was published and all the documentation was submitted. And we were delighted to hear in late 2021, so just before Christmas, we had the confirmation in December that it was in fact funded, and that we got all the wheels in motion to ensure that all of the partners that we had named would be able to take part fully. So what's it going to mean over the next few years for us? So I know my map skills, they blow you away every time. So these are the partners. So we have Learning Hub Friesland, which Simon Tubb works at, which as I said, it kind of has this not purely administrative role, but looks after an awful lot of the documentation, the filling out of grant reports and that sort of thing. So I suppose it's the strong guiding hand within that, which is definitely for a user group like ours here in Ireland, which I am the sole staff member, we would not have capacity to engage with EU projects that require such a volume of that sort of reporting and experience that way. And we also have AFUC, which is the Frisian language, I suppose, advocacy group. So they're involved in publications and outreach and promotion of their language. Yes, you picked up on my mistake there. That should be I took it from the wrong documentation, Galder. I will fix these slides for the future. So we have the Frisk Academy, which I suppose is the scholarly Frisian academy. They're involved in an awful lot of research, kind of high-level scholarly research. We have the Basque Wikimedians user group. Yes, and as Galder has just pointed out, that should be Luberia BHI, which is the local high school within Donostia. We have Wikimedia Community Ireland, and we have Coláiste Oriel, which is the secondary school, the Irish language medium secondary school here in Ireland as well. So what will we be doing apart from waving at each other over Zoom for the last few months? These are kind of the broad outcomes as have been envisaged by the partners so far. The idea that the project, as all Erasmus projects do, is that they bring students together across various different contexts. I think I dropped out for a second. I hope it wasn't for very long. We're bringing together schools and student groups from across different contexts within the EU to have a kind of a cultural exchange and to get to know each other, but grounding it within this Wikipedia project and drawing in, I suppose, the knowledge and infrastructure of these language organizations to promote and for the students in particular to solidify for them that there is an importance and a utility to their what could be seen as highly minority languages within the EU context, that there is a cultural significance to them, and to have this element of cultural exchange between the groups, while having this backbone of digital literacy, having that kind of social engagement and utilizing their language skills in a way that traditionally they would not have perhaps the opportunity to do so. So kind of these vital digital research skills, critically empowering the students to kind of feel that they have a sense of ownership and that they can make a difference, as we all know, on Wikimedia projects, to kind of infuse with them or kind of give them kind of that hint of enthusiasm that they themselves can create kind of tangible and very demonstrable and powerful outputs through their own native language, while also within this kind of wider context of our gender gap, gender inequality, issues around representation and gender within this context, which further minoritizes people within kind of within language groups as well. And I'm probably going to blast through these slides now, so I apologize if I finish too quickly. So we have our 3-year plan, which is starting this year. So we will have we're having a kickoff meeting, which a few of us will actually be in person. Can you imagine? In the Frisian area I'm not going to mangle the city that we're going to in the Netherlands, where we're all going to meet for the first time and start the work. It's where the rubber hits the road. It's where the real work actually starts. Each group within some of the partners are going to be leading some of the different work that we're going to be outlining here, but highly collaborative as well. So it's starting to get that work going. Very excitingly, though, over the summer, we will have our first Educators Bootcamp, which will be in Donostia. So we all have something to look forward to in late June, early July. It's going to be a big step change, I think, from the Irish summers that I've been exclusively experiencing over the last few years. So that'll be all of our teachers, our educators will come together for that. So probably drawing quite considerably on the amazing work that's been done with reading Wikipedia in the classroom, but also folding in all of the work that they have been doing in Donostia with their local educators over the years and all the other best practice that we're aware of to really ground the educators in the work that they're going to be doing. And I suppose from their feedback and their initial ideas and I suppose reaction to it, starting to feed that into the various different outputs that we're going to have. So we'll then have our 3 Erasmus trips starting in Ireland, probably around this time next year in 2023. Then we'll go to the Basque Country in 2024. And then in the next, I suppose, in the last scholastic year, in the last academic year, then we'll have in Friesland in November 2024. All of this will produce 3, I suppose, large kind of outputs, corpus outputs, first of which will be the pupil materials. So the materials that will be produced for the students to use, which will have all of the things that we'll all be quite familiar with orientating them within Wikimedia projects, but also thinking about research skills, citation skills, correct forms of, I suppose, language and writing for the encyclopedic context, and grounding them within this project and giving them all the tools that they need to be successful within it. We'll also have the schools toolkit, which will be orientated towards our educators. So as I said, kind of very much drawing on what has been done, I'd imagine, with reading Wikipedia in the classroom and contextualizing it for the teaching group that we're going to be working with. And we'll also have, and this is where the Friesc Academy comes in, so a GLAM toolkit. So our GLAM collaborators who want to work with these particular age groups, giving them the tools and the context that they need to think about how they can think about outreach to this specific age group and the kind of projects that they could be engaging with. Evaluation is folded into all of these. All of these are going to be iterative throughout the 3 years. So we'll have piloting projects within the 3 years. So I suppose from a strict point of view, the Irish group will be, so the student group in the next year will be the guinea pigs. So they will be working with the initial materials that we create, and then what we learned from that, we will further refine. So that's across all kind of 3 elements of that, from the pupils, educators, and GLAM outreach. But I suppose there's a little bit of a chicken and egg. We have an idea of what the direction of those materials will be at the moment, but it may change considerably. But they probably will be quite recognizable to a lot of us who've worked in this space. And critically, while they will exist in English, they will also exist in Irish, Basque, and Frisian. So those specifically GLAM organizations and schools and other organizations that are working through these minority languages won't have to translate these materials to localize them to their own context as well. And I think I'm a little bit early. I don't know if Galder wants to add a little bit there towards the end. I know we have 3 minutes. I don't know if there's any other questions. If you want to throw them at me, Sailesh, please do. But I know that this is not, while this is slightly novel in that it is within this very particular kind of EU funded structure, it's not new within the Wikimedia context. So this will probably feel very familiar to different people who've worked with this particular age group, so say 14 to 16, 17-year-olds. as they might be preparing for kind of university, looking, kind of giving those initial skills around information literacy and citation skills and referencing and things like that. But at the same time, if anybody has kind of particular case studies or kind of anything that you'd like to point us at, please do. Because as I said, it's a long-term project, and we very much want to draw on all of the wonderful work that people have done across the movement so far.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. I just have a question. Probably we also have some staff from the affiliates who had applied for the Erasmus fund. I just wanted to understand what the challenges you had while applying for it, and how long was the process, and what did you prepare for this application for the fund?
You could probably hear my cat Hamilton in the background there. He might suddenly join us. He might appear on camera. I apologize. It was quite, as you probably got a sense of it, it was quite a long lead-in. So those initial conversations that I had with Simon were kind of summertime 2020. So the podcast went out in May 2020. He contacted me probably, kind of within a month of that. And, kind of then bringing in Galder and the Basque. Also finding, so they already had, so in the Learning Hub in particular had a working relationship with AFOC and the Frisk Academy already, so they didn't have to do a big sell. And similarly, Galder, they already had an existing relationship with that particular high school, whereas in Ireland we had to start from scratch. So I had to go out. The slowest piece for me was actually finding a secondary school that was willing to I suppose jump in with both feet, which was fantastic. I hope that my internet connection hasn't gone down. My smartwatch is just, no, I think it's okay. So I think having those partners who had been through the EU funding mill before was probably made it a much easier lift for us, which of course, it's a little bit like the golden goose. You're not always going to have somebody that can take your hand that way. But that said, if anybody wants to look at the documentation as we have so far, we would be only too happy to share that. And I'm sure, Simon, this is all about, there's a large piece of dissemination built into all this. So actually telling people about the work that we've done and giving them the tools that we've used for it. So if that's a useful piece that we can do very early on within that, we would be very happy to engage with anybody who wants to have conversations around that. Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much.
I will add, Silas, that
sure, go ahead.
Actually, there was some paperwork to do because you have to fill things for Europe and for your own country and with the school and these kind of things. Some are quite tricky because you need to know how to fill some papers, but we have the help from Simon, who is expert on that, and so it was straightforward. There was paperwork, but it was straightforward. And it took 4 meetings in 1 year, something like that, to actually go on. So it's something that takes for long, but it's not extremely difficult to make.
Great, thanks, Calder. We have our next session. Clara, do you want to introduce our next speaker?
And thank you, Rebecca, because I heard, of course, earlier about this project, and it was very interesting to hear it because Erasmus Plus it could be tricky, and the subject is close to my heart. Like women and language minorities and Basque Country and Ireland, everything nice in one project. So thank you. And now we are going to listen to Florence. Yes, I hope I say your name in the correct way. And this I like this project is also well known for me. So I hope you all will be also so thrilled about this as I used to be once. WikiFundi to work with Wikipedia, but offline and supporting teachers and students. It sounds strange and like fairy tale, but it's true. So Florence, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Clara. Is the sound okay?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Checking. I'm going to share my screen. Where that might be.
It's at the bottom, and it should.
Yeah. I'm just need to make sure that I'm picking up the right slide, that's this one. There are too many things being open, so that's the one. There you go. Is it good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, Clara, you said my name right. This is Florence. So I wanted to talk to you, to give you a talk today on WikiFundi 101, but I want to be a little bit specific because I have already presented WikiFundi several times. So I want to go very quickly on what the tool is, and I want to do something that I have never done before, is really to try to show the process, the operational process of how to set it up and to use it. Because I think it is often something a little bit scary, and I wanted to at least give some feedback on how to do that. But first, very quickly to summarize what WikiFundi is, it's an open source platform that provides an offline editing environment that mimics the Wikipedia online environment. It's based on EduWiki. So it was initially meant to address a big question. Have you ever wanted to work on a document with others, to contribute to Wikipedia or teach your student how to do so, but you could not, either because the data was too expensive, or the access to internet was unreliable, or the electricity supply was unstable? And this is a situation we met several times back in 2015 when we were working in Uganda and Côte d'Ivoire. And this is why we came up with the WikiFundi solution. So what it does is that it provides a bridging experience for training, writing, article creation, collaboration, when technology fails, when access doesn't exist, or when electricity is unreliable. So it helps groups or individuals to learn how to write, to create, improve article on a wiki, and can work together. So I have presented WikiFundi so many times since it first launched back in 2018. It is a tool that is being used in particular in education program. I already mentioned in the past, in particular, the Wiki Challenge African Schools, which is a program we have been running for 5 years now, in over 200 primary schools, with a writing contest where articles are being published on Wikipedia, the children platform. So over 400 articles now have been written by the children and are published on Wikipedia, and many of them went through using that tool. So there are already many presentations available, and I will show you where you can have a look at that. There are user guides, there are leaflets, there are posters, there's presentation video, contextual video. So plenty of resources have been piled up in the past 4 years since the tool was first released. So why did I want to talk about it today? There are essentially 3 reasons. The reason number 1 is that we had the pride of receiving an award in October 2021, offered by Open Education Global in the innovation sector. So it was very much a satisfaction to receive that prize, and we are very proud of it for the recognition outside of our Wikimedia environment. The second reason is that we just released a new version. It doesn't make a big difference for French and English speakers. It's mostly an update and a refresh of the resource that are in the tool. But there is a brand new version that has been added for Spanish-speaking users, in particular thinking of South America, having South America in perspective for potential users. So that's the second reason, brand new release. and the new release was supported by Wikimedia CH, and the tool was developed with the Kiwix, which many of you probably already know. And then there was a third reason, and this third reason is that I found that many people potential users were a bit scared, and there are two reasons why it's a bit scary to set it up. Number one reason is that it's not simply a tool that you download from the internet and set up on your computer. It's a website. It's the equivalent of a website, so it requires a server to operate. So that's something already a little bit more complicated. And the second reason is the software, the vanilla version of the software is 15 gigabyte to download, which is quite a lot. I don't know for you, but at home, 15 gigabyte, it takes me about 12 hours to download it. So it's not easy for people to actually look at it and try it. So this is why I wanted to go a little bit through a run through of how to use that. And here on the screen, you have the latest version of the leaflet we made, which is available in French, English, and Spanish, and explain the general use, the use for teachers, the use for Wikimedian to do outreach, and the use, and that's my little wish for entrepreneurs who want to have a very simple solution for a small group. So the best way to find information is on Meta. There is a page there, WikiFundi. It hosts, it is currently perfectly translated English, Spanish, French. It gives the run through. What is the tool about? There are links to presentation, mention of the prize, the award we received, and of course the whole place where you can download the software, the link to the user guide and support. So essentially, this is the most updated place, and this is where you should go if you want to have more information later. And one of the best places to have info as well is the YouTube channel. So WikiFundi was developed, is a Wiki in Africa project. And we have a YouTube channel, which I invite you to have a look at, and where we host all of the projects we currently work with, all the programs, Wiki Loves Africa, Wiki Loves Women, and others. In this space, we have playlists, and there is a dedicated playlist for WikiFundi, which is here, right? So this playlist includes not so many videos, about 15 to 20 videos altogether. Some of these are introduction video, which were shot in South Africa by Ayla in a school she was working in. There is a presentation from Catherine back from 2018, shot in Wikindaba. There are several presentations that are only 4 to 5 minutes long that you could look for. In particular, there was one that I did at Open Education Global back in 2020, which is practical. And I also posted there a bunch of help go through videos. And I would like to show you 3 of them to explain to them. I cut the sound, I'm going to explain. The first is a simple explanation of how to launch the thing and the elements you need. So this video was shot with Erina from Uganda, and I cut the sound, I explain what she's saying. So you need to make the tool work, a server, which is here a Raspberry server. It's a Raspberry 3. There's now a new version, Raspberry 4. You might also use a server which you have in a school, because many schools have been equipped with some old computers operating as servers. Then you need a SD card, which is a fairly regular SD card, which contains the software and the operating system. And then you need electricity. It can be the regular electricity, or it may be a battery, right? The card is inserted, the electricity is plugged in, then you wait about 3 to 5 minutes, and what it creates is a Wi-Fi, which will cover about the size of the classroom, roughly. right? So now let me show you what happens when you're in a situation. This is a video I shot 2 days ago, so I did it from my own space. Where is it? Number 2. Here. And that's something that you cannot actually see unless you have the system set up. So I was on my computer and I moved away from my regular Wi-Fi and I connected myself to WikiFundi in English, the server. When you do that in your browser, you type, well, normally you type WikiFundi, it works, but the address is WikiFundi EN hotspot. And this where it will lead you, which is, in this case, this is an environment that was only made with the vanilla version of WikiFundi. So there's only the software. But if you created the resource with many more information, such as Wikipedia offline or Wikiquote offline, then it will appear on the side here, along with the WikiFundi. So you may have different resources available. In this case, this is the simple version. And when you click on it, you will access to something that will sound very familiar to you probably. So it's based on MediaWiki, but we have simplified it. We have removed what we felt was not really needed. And as you may see, we have put the system to enter your article directly on the main page so that it's easier. And the recent pages are also displayed on the first page. Mandatory to log in. Because guess what? When there is no internet, there is no IP address. So you cannot edit as an IP address. You actually need the account. There is a standard admin account, which is there. You can log in or create as many other accounts. And then pretty much it's just checking in case, because I saw an alert about my screen. Checking if there's no problem with the screen. Yes. Oops, where did I go? I lost myself. I'm above. Yes. So otherwise, it works pretty much like a wiki as you're familiar with. We create page. So there's one thing that is very tricky is if you do it on a regular Raspberry, if there is no time chip in the Raspberry, then the time is not accounted as real. So it will only account as time whilst you are connected. So in this case, the first article was created actually in December, and the second was created the second time I connected myself, which was 2 days ago. But if you use a server with a time chip, then you don't have this problem. We have piled up some resources, some guidance in the tool, as well as you can see at the bottom here. There are some, I'm going to answer to that, to that question. We have piled up a bunch of rules related to Wikipedia, not all of them, because there are so many of them, but at least the one that felt the most interesting, in particular in the education context. Does WikiFundi work in all languages? I would say yes. The thing is, the interface is only available in 3 languages, and it includes most of the templates which are already used on Wikipedia. Not all of them, but most of the main templates are here, but those are the templates of the English, French, and Spanish version. So you may very well create an article in, I don't know, Portuguese, or in, I didn't check for Arabic because it's tough for me to understand, but there's no reason why it wouldn't work. But the template available here are the ones that are being used on English Wikipedia. What I am hoping in the future is with the abstract project, we won't have this problem anymore. But currently, yes. We also curated a bunch of resources in the 3 languages. You will recognize some of them. Those are resources we felt were still interesting, even if some of them were quite old. And of course, you have the most recent publication from the Wikimedia Foundation and others. So those are some examples in English, and there are some in French. which sometimes are translation of the other ones and sometimes are specific resources that we have identified as interesting to share with the kids. So those are some resources that I created myself 2 years ago. At the beginning of the pandemics, I worked on with Creative Commons stuff, and I created some resources there. And then we have the same thing, same resources as well in some resources in Spanish are also available. Those are different. So essentially, this is it. As you see, we have tried to keep it simple. One thing which is very important is it does not include all the Wikipedia article. It's on purpose, otherwise it would be too big. The English version of Wikipedia is over 80 gigabytes in English, so it's impossible. So we don't have this, but we have a bunch of showcases articles available in each linguistic version. So that's the thing you get when you access to the Wi-Fi. Now the recurring question we have is, okay, but how do I get these tools, the server, the Raspberry server? So I don't know if you see me very well here. So this is typically one of those servers. You can buy them on the internet, Raspberry Foundation. I should stop this one because it continues. You can buy this one on the internet, Raspberry Foundation or Amazon. And what you also need is an SD card, such as this one, pretty regular one of different size, and a card reader. And why is that a problem? The big thing you need is this. On this card, there is at the same time the application and the operating system. How do you get that in there? Well, you need to collect the software. There are two main options, and I don't know if Anthony is here right now, but one of the main problem I got is that I used to do some duplicates of this card and to provide them to people. The problem is that now we can only do that online. Each time I post such a card by postal office, in 90% of the cases, it never gets there. Either it gets stolen or it gets lost or whatever, but each time it's a loss. So I'm a bit tired of doing that. The other option I did is that once I have downloaded the 3 edition, I put them on a hard drive, then I can travel around with this in my pocket. And locally, once you have downloaded the tool, then you can do the same thing. How to download it? You need at some point a good internet connection. 15 gigabytes to collect is not an easy thing to do. Once you have collected this, what do you do with it? It's super, super simple. I think in 2 or 3. I'm not sure what the question is, Clara. How do you do it? You need an application which is called Balena Etcher, for example. And on this application, it was a bit quick. You will have to select the file that you have downloaded from the internet, and then you will select your target, which is the card. So this is the version, which is 15 gigabyte. Then you select the target, which may be an USB key. In this case, that's a 128 gigabyte. That's a big one. And all you need to do afterwards, third step, is to flash it. Just have to indicate a password, the password of your computer, and you're done. This will take about 15 minutes to do. So it's not very long. It's pretty easy to do. Once it's done, you have the operating system and the software on your USB, on your little SD card, and you can plug it in the server. Now time check. I will finish quickly. Last thing is we have, how much time do I have left? Please show me, because I have a 3-minute thing to show you. The last thing I wanted to tell you is that if I do that by default, I will only get the vanilla version of WikiFundi, but you might be interested by more resources. How do you do that? KWix has developed a website, which is a card shop, where you can go. Either you ask access to Stefan or you ask me to do it. It's a very simple place where you will prepare configuration of what you want to have in your SD card. So for example, those are configuration I have myself, which are already stored there, organized. And if I want to create a new configuration, I will simply define my future hotspot, the language I want, the password. If I want a password for my hotspot, for my Wi-Fi hotspot, I will define what it is that I want. And then I can also define some branding information, such as favicon and logos that will appear. And the most important thing, I will decide which content I want there. So in this case, here, my current content is WikiFundi plus the OS system is 13 gigabytes, so I need a card of 16 gigabytes. Here I selected the fact I want WikiFundi in English. And then I have a full list, I mean, it's hundreds of resources in as many languages as you could hope for, which contains Wikipedia offline, Wikiquote offline, TEDx talks, a whole bunch of things. So you will select the elements you're interested in. It will pile up in your selection. When you're happy with the selection, you will save the selection, and the card will be saved with what you want. Once we want to do a request, we click on making a command, and all we need to do is to say, I want to receive a link to download my brand new content, which will include the content I selected on purpose. You can provide an email address, and the person, the recipientary, will receive directly in his mailbox the link to download the software with all the offline resources you want to. So this is essentially how the things work. I will conclude that if you're interested by the topic, on this playlist, there's other links that are videos which are very interesting. There's in particular a rather long presentation I made with plenty of initiative and example about using offline tools. So that one is probably a must read if you're interested by the topic. And there are also various selections of interviews or panels which have been done over the past 2 years during the pandemics, roughly, in relationship to offline technology in the Wikimedia space. And that's essentially it. Any question? Shoot them, but I think we are just on time, I hope.
Yeah. Thanks, Florence. This is very inspiring. We also interviewed Stefan, like on the fourth day of EduWiki Week. He did mention about WikiFundi as well. So it's inspiring to see like how we are also thinking of like using Wikipedia in like offline space, and helping to like get access to education in these areas where we don't have like internet, or we have like less infrastructure. So it's good to hear from you, Florence.
One thing I just want to make it clear, because people sometimes ask me just to remind, what's the difference between Kiwix and WikiFundi? Kiwix is for readers. It provides the content. It provides huge amount of content. WikiFundi is for action. It's for edition. It's for learning how to write. So those are not at all in competition. Those are complementary tools, right? That's all.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We have two amazing speakers next. So it's Bukola and Abdul. If we can have the session on the screen, Emerald.
Welcome to the EduWiki Week 2022. My name is Bukola James, and together with my colleague Abdul Fattah, we will be sharing our learning experience as a certified trainer of the Reading Wikipedia in the Classroom program with you all. Get comfortable, relax, sit, as the session will commence now. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to EduWiki Week 2022. It's a virtual celebration of free knowledge in education and how Wikimedia Foundation as promotes education using its projects that cut across Wikipedia, Wikicommon, Wikidata, among others. So who we are, my name is Kola Olutola James. I'm a certified trainer of the Reading Wikipedia in the classroom program. And together with my colleague Abdul Fattah from Ghana, we'll be sharing our learning experience with you all on reading Wikipedia in the classroom. Now, in the course of this presentation, we'll be talking about what reading Wikipedia in the classroom program is, the relevance to the education sector in Ghana and Nigeria, the impact of this program on teachers and students, and the outcome of the training program. Also, we'll talk about our plan for the implementation in our local communities, and we'll wrap up this session with a question and answer and final remarks from the presenters. Thank you. So, what's the Reading Wikipedia in the Classroom program is all about? It's a flagship teacher training program aimed at developing teachers' media and information literacy skill for the 21st century. And this program aligns with the UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Framework, which connects different approaches and methodologies that are used in the classroom to leverage the power of Wikipedia. Now, this program adopted the UNESCO Media Information Framework, which is divided into 3 modules for the teachers. And the first module talks about assessing information. The second talks about evaluating information. And the third module talks about creating information and how teachers can become content creators on Wikipedia. Now, for more information about this program, please kindly visit the Wikimedia Common under the category Reading Wikipedia in the Classroom. You'll find a lot of resources about this program. Now, I would like to talk about the relevance of this program in the education sector of Nigeria and Ghana. Now, the impact of this program on the education sector is that it will help improve the media and information literacy skills of teachers and students, as well as make teachers become content creators, not just content consumers alone. It would also promote the reading cultures of students and even teachers as well, and also create an alternative format for learning new things outside of the regular school curriculum for both teachers and students. Now, we are in the 21st century where everything is going digital, and we are talking about IoT, Internet of Things. And it would be of a great importance for students to not stop reading despite IoT, information explosion, information overload. And this program is a great avenue for students to promote their reading culture using Wikipedia. Now, the impacts on teachers and students in Nigeria and Ghana. The impact of this program can be measured on teachers and students with their ability to use Wikipedia to access and retrieve electronic learning resources. Now, with this program, teachers would learn better ways of retrieving information online, retrieving not just any information, but reliable and verifiable information online. Again, this impact would be measured based on the ability of the teachers to evaluate Wikipedia as a source of knowledge. Now, making them content creators that can assess and not only understand, but evaluate the information on Wikipedia. Again, this program would help teachers monitor Wikipedia and make it a safe place for students to retrieve information from, as well as promote quality education for lifelong learning. So I have come to the end of my own session, and please stay put because there's still more from Abdul Fattah. Thank you.
Emerald, we have a second part of this session.
Yep, going to it.
Dzień dobry. Dziś opowiem o tym, jak wygląda moja
Yeah,
wikipedystyczna
not this one.
dotychczas.
Let me share it here.
Sorry, it's showing up as her story was the part 2.
Oh, okay. Just give me a second. Sorry, just give me a second. Yeah, I have it now. I have shared it on Slack.
Okay.
So sorry for the inconvenience.
Thank you, Bukola, for that wonderful submission. And thank you to the Wikimedia Foundation education team for this wonderful platform. for us to share our experiences in the reading Wikipedia in the classroom. Thank you. So let's move quickly to the outcome of the program. I think I have been able to learn how to research. It has developed my research skills. During the program, I wasn't able to know much about the education policies in my country, but due to this training, we were challenged to do a lot of research. And then we also learned how to localize the curriculum, some parts of the curriculum. And then we also have the opportunities to deep dive into the reading Wikipedia in the classroom so as to be able to explain the relevance of this important program in our local education sector and the opportunities in it for the education sector in my country. I've also learned facilitation techniques and a localizing training structure, management of learning platform for a virtual instruction. Yes. We are now able to design and facilitate an engaging program, whether online, offline, or the blended method. And that is focused on the learner's context. Again, I've also learned how to plan a program or an important program like the reading Wikipedia in the classroom. And in planning, I've learned how to conduct needs assessment, establishing partnerships and outreaches, budget planning, risk assessment, monitoring, and then evaluation. Yes, we were taught before the program. I wasn't able to meet some key stakeholders in the education sector, but this program has made it possible for me to be able to meet those people and then introduce the program and explain to them how important this program will be in our education sector. So what's next for the implementation? Yes, Wikipedia is already being used by educators around the world to foster digital skills, critical thinking, research skills, and reach a variety of learning objectives in formal and informal education sector, informal education initiatives. So in preparation towards the implementation, as we wait for the approval from the Wikimedia education team for our proposal to implement the program, we are still continuing with the stakeholder engagements. And I think I've been able to meet about 6 senior high school principals in Northern region. And this will go on until all the principals are met in both private and public schools in the northern region. There is also an engagement with the top hierarchy of the education in northern region and Ghana as a whole. Plans are underway to meet the education minister and then the Director General for Ghana Education Service in Ghana to introduce this program to them. Plans are also underway to meet the National Teaching Council, whose mandate in the education sector, part of it is to award license and then also ensure the renewal of those licenses. So as part of my preparations, I will be meeting the National Director for NTC so as to find a way of awarding points to all successful teachers of the reading Wikipedia in the classroom for a renewal of their licenses. So what this basically means is that if a teacher goes through this program successful and given a certificate, that certificate will qualify him for a points on his or her license renewal. Yes, so between March to June 2022, about 30 teachers will have been trained on application and adoption of media information literacy skills. 25 will have been certified, and this includes both public and private schools. Thank you for your attention, and this brings us to the questions and answers session. Let's review some of the questions we got on the comments. Add more questions, keep this conversation going. Thank you once again for this opportunity. Bye.
Thanks, Bukola. Thanks, Abdul, for sharing your experience from reading Wikipedia in the classroom program. It's exciting to see like everything that you have learned during this program and as well as your future plans. I'm going to pass the mic to my fellow partner in crime for this EduWiki week preparation. Florencia, do you want to introduce yourself in the next session?
Thanks, Ailesh. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for all the amazing presentations you are doing. I'm really learning a lot today, so I'm really thankful. My name is Florencia. I'm project assistant in Education and Human Rights program in Wikimedia Argentina. And what we are going to listen right now is a presentation that we did with Dicina and a group of teachers of a project that is called Investigating Wikimedia Projects in the Classroom. That is a project we did last year. So the presentation will be in Spanish, but you have English subtitles so that everyone can hear and interpret everything. So just go on when you can. Thank you.
Bienvenidos y bienvenidas al ciclo de charlas en el marco de la campaña EduWiki Week. Hoy nos encontramos con un equipo de personas que han participado del proyecto Investigando Proyectos Wikimedia en el Aula de Wikimedia Argentina. Es un concurso de artículos que fueron presentados durante el año 2021 y hoy vamos a estar charlando con los y las ganadores y ganadoras. Mi nombre es Luisina Ferrante, yo soy la coordinadora del programa de Educación y Derechos Humanos de Wikimedia Argentina, y le voy a pasar la palabra a Florencia, que es mi colega, y va a hacer presentación de los colegas que están hoy presentes.
Muchas gracias, Luli. Bueno, gracias a todos y todas quienes nos están escuchando. Como les contaba Luli, la idea de hoy es poder charlar un poco sobre el concurso Investigar sobre los proyectos Wikimedia en el aula, y tenemos acá a 3 de los 4 proyectos que fueron seleccionados ganadores. El concurso se realizó en Argentina, llevado adelante por Wikimedia Argentina con acompañamiento de la Universidad Nacional de La Plata. Fue un concurso en donde a principios del año 2021 se presentaron 21 proyectos de todo el país y fueron seleccionados 10 para participar del concurso, y finalmente por un jurado de especialistas en el que participaron Cecilia Sagol, Manuel Becerra y Patricia Lorente, se seleccionaron los 4 proyectos ganadores. Los voy a mencionar en el orden en el que fueron seleccionados. El primer puesto fue para los proyectos Wikimedia en el Museo de La Plata, aportes para el abordaje de las brechas geopolíticas y de género en las ciencias naturales y antropológicas, y presentando al equipo ganador, en este caso estaba Fernando Archubi con nosotras, ahora en un ratito se van a presentar también ellos y ellas. El segundo puesto fue para el proyecto Wikipato, una experiencia sobre patología oral mediante el uso de Wikipedia, y está hoy en representación del equipo Ramiro Tomasi. El tercer puesto fue para el proyecto Pensar e Intervenir sobre los sesgos de género en Wikipedia, una experiencia en el nivel secundario, y las personas que forman parte de ese proyecto lamentablemente hoy no pueden estar presentes, pero bueno, queríamos obviamente mencionarlos y desde ya destacar que es un proyecto súper interesante que aborda cómo trabajar con Wikipedia en el nivel secundario. Y por último está el proyecto que recibió una mención especial, que es el proyecto Construcción Virtual en Wikipedia de los espacios de memoria en Argentina, y está Luciana Tourn en representación de ese equipo. Así que bueno, la idea no es tanto que hablemos nosotras, sino que conozcan a los ganadores, así que comenzamos con la ronda de preguntas. Luli, te paso la palabra.
Buenísimo, gracias, Flor. Bueno, para iniciar y para que todas podamos conocer las experiencias que nuestros colegas llevaron adelante durante el año pasado investigando las propuestas en sus espacios laborales y de docencia. Vamos a empezar con la primera pregunta, que es ¿en qué se basó su trabajo? Y va a empezar respondiendo Fernando.
Buenos días a todos y todas, soy Fernando Archubi. Me tocó liderar el trabajo que ganó el primer premio, que fue una descripción de la experiencia que desarrollamos del uso de las herramientas Wikimedia en los ámbitos universitarios. Lo que presentamos fue la última experiencia desarrollada durante los últimos años, especialmente a partir de la pandemia, del inicio de la pandemia, en la Universidad Nacional de La Plata, en el Museo de La Plata. Esto tiene un antecedente, y es que comenzamos a trabajar en el uso de las herramientas Wikimedia en las universidades nacionales en Argentina, un poco antes en la Universidad Nacional de Río Negro, en la Patagonia, que nos hizo aprender que, por una parte, bueno, lo que ya sabíamos, que la universidad no tiene solamente docencia, o solamente investigación, solamente extensión, o solamente transferencia, sino que todos los ámbitos en los cuales se trabaja con conocimiento están integrados. Y el uso de Wikimedia como una herramienta en la universidad refleja eso. Se utiliza para la docencia, al mismo tiempo para la popularización o divulgación del conocimiento, y es parte de las herramientas de investigación tanto en la educación como en los ámbitos en los que nos encontramos. Es muy difícil discernir entre las diferentes funciones dentro de la universidad y los proyectos de Wikimedia, por lo tanto hay una gran coincidencia. En nuestro proyecto lo que hicimos fue, a partir de capacitaciones, conformar un equipo de wikimedistas con el objetivo de intervenir en los proyectos Wikimedia, principalmente Wikipedia, pero también Wikidata, Wikimedia Commons, con contenidos de ciencias naturales y antropológicas, que son las carreras que están en la institución que nos nuclea, que es la Facultad de Ciencias Naturales y Museo, proveer esos contenidos a Wikipedia, Wikimedia Commons, Wikidata y otras herramientas. Lo interesante de nuestro proyecto es que fue un aprendizaje al tiempo que hacíamos. Nosotros aprendíamos y volcábamos en los proyectos nuestros conocimientos. Lo interesante también es que nuestro grupo con el tiempo creció y sigue creciendo, y el proyecto sigue en pie. Bueno, no quiero tomar más tiempo porque hay otras personas para contestar.
Buenísimo, gracias Fer. Le pasamos la palabra a Luciana.
Bueno, hola, hola a todos. Bueno, el tema de nuestra investigación se centró en los espacios para la memoria,
su construcción en la enciclopedia libre Wikipedia en español. Nuestra investigación tuvo como objetivo, por un lado, analizar el contenido de los artículos correspondientes a los espacios para la memoria en Argentina, es decir, cómo se construye, cómo se presenta la información, y por otro lado, el análisis de sus ediciones, ¿no? Las etapas de ediciones, si fueron vandalizados o no, y también el análisis de las estadísticas en términos de visitas y de consultas acerca de los artículos sobre los espacios para la memoria. En el marco de esta temática, lo que nos interesó particularmente investigar tiene que ver con, bueno, la información que se encuentra disponible en la web, sobre todo en cómo se constituye en un recurso más para la construcción de la memoria y la defensa de los derechos humanos, y en especial en el espacio de la virtualidad. Básicamente ese sería el trabajo.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, Lu. Le pasamos la palabra a Ramiro.
Bueno, buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches. Soy Ramiro Tomasi y pertenezco a la Universidad Nacional de Córdoba, a la Facultad de Odontología, y doy una asignatura, soy profe en Anatomía Patológica. Entonces nuestro proyecto de investigación se centró en trabajar con Wikipedia en nuestras aulas de patología, y mediante este proyecto pretendíamos acercar a nuestros estudiantes los contenidos abordados en nuestra asignatura de una manera más novedosa, más potente, poderosa y no convencional, además de, digamos, estimular la producción durante el proceso de aprendizaje de los alumnos. Por suerte era la primera vez que hacíamos este tipo de proyecto, y tuvimos 32 inscriptos que se encontraban principalmente en la ciudad de Córdoba, Argentina, y de otras provincias de Argentina como Neuquén y Jujuy. Y destacamos básicamente el cambio que existió en los alumnos, digamos, en el poder trabajar en estos nuevos proyectos educativos, en donde además de aprender patología en las clases tradicionales, pudieron aprender y reaprender patología durante el proyecto.
Genial, muchísimas gracias, Ramiro, por la respuesta. Quizás tomando un poco esto que decías, la segunda pregunta que nos interesaba hacerles es ¿cómo creen que el trabajo que hicieron, la investigación, cambió o influyó en el desarrollo educativo que ustedes venían haciendo todos los días con las personas con las que trabajaban? No sé, Fer, si querés volver a retomar la palabra.
Sí, desde ya que sí. Un aspecto que es muy importante en cómo estas herramientas influyeron en mi experiencia como docente es el entusiasmo que genera tanto los docentes como los estudiantes por empezar a compartir una actividad, porque normalmente en estos casos la actividad es compartida, acompañada. Wikimedia Argentina acompaña a los docentes y los docentes acompañan a los estudiantes, y los estudiantes se entusiasman porque es una actividad novedosa y porque también su producto está disponible para millones de personas. Se esfuerzan más porque tienen un arbitraje, una inspección de sus contenidos por parte de personas anónimas que son muy estrictas, que son los editores de Wikipedia. Todo eso genera un nivel de compromiso y de entusiasmo con las actividades que supera a todas las otras actividades que he desarrollado. Pero por otro lado también permite mejorar la comprensión de la gestión del conocimiento. Nosotros somos de carreras científicas, ciencias más o menos duras, biología, paleontología, geología, antropología biológica, arqueología, y lidiamos con el conocimiento, pero principalmente damos clases y hacemos investigación, o sea, transmitimos y generamos conocimientos. Y no estamos bien preparados si no tenemos una comprensión de cómo son los otros aspectos del trabajo con el conocimiento. Esto permite trabajarlo en un marco súper interesante que es el conocimiento libre, que es un marco ideológico, que coincide con las ideas de la reforma universitaria, que es el modelo universitario argentino.
Genial, buenísimo, muchas gracias. Luciana, te pasamos la palabra.
Bueno, comparto con Fernando esta idea del entusiasmo, del trabajo desde las herramientas de Wikimedia. Particularmente nuestro trabajo también nos posibilitó resignificar el espacio del aula para poder pensarnos desde un trabajo colaborativo, ¿no? Es decir, esto de trabajar, pensar para producir junto con otros. Nosotros somos un equipo grande de más de 60 personas, entonces, bueno, había que llegar a acuerdos acerca de la información, de la escritura, de la lectura, entonces, bueno, resignificamos el espacio del aula en esos términos también. Y por otro lado, bueno, también nos permitió no solo generar instancias de análisis sobre la información localizada en Internet, en función de lo que de la información sobre los espacios para la memoria, sino también comprender las condiciones de producción y su articulación con ciertos procesos a partir de los cuales se intenta construir y sostener sentidos acerca de lo social y en particular acerca de la defensa de los derechos humanos.
Buenísimo, Luciana, gracias. Ramiro, te paso la palabra.
Bien, bueno, nosotros en nuestra investigación destacamos la potencialidad de trabajar con Wikipedia en las aulas de la universidad, ya que favorece a la adquisición de muchas competencias, ¿no? Como son la escritura, la búsqueda bibliográfica, situar a los y las estudiantes en el rol de curadores del contenido, y obviamente el trabajo colaborativo, como mencionaron mis compañeros. Además, por otro lado, permite a nosotros, los docentes, tener un rol de facilitadores, ¿no? En el proceso de enseñanza y aprendizaje. Así también permite visibilizar un campo disciplinar como es el de la patología oral, que es oculto, digamos, aún en Wikipedia. Y en ese sentido, vimos que no había muchos artículos relacionados a la patología oral, y que no existían tantas imágenes relacionadas con la patología oral, sobre todo en relación a las anomalías dentarias, que es el fuerte, digamos, de la patología oral, y sobre todo para los futuros odontólogos y odontólogas.
Buenísimo, muchas gracias a los tres por sus respuestas, y vamos a ir hacia la última pregunta, y les invitamos a compartir sus reflexiones sobre por qué creen que los proyectos Wikimedia son importantes en el ámbito educativo.
Bueno, bien. De acuerdo a nuestra experiencia, los proyectos Wikimedia son una muy buena herramienta educativa, ¿no? Como herramienta, no pensemos otros marcos, como herramienta permite desarrollar y avanzar sobre el trabajo sobre diferentes contenidos. Eso por un lado. Por otro lado, es una práctica que permite trabajar mucho sobre la escritura y por supuesto la lectura, la escritura académica y la lectura. En carreras de ciencias, el modo en que producimos conocimientos son normalmente artículos científicos que demandan una lectura exhaustiva de los temas y una escritura adecuada en un contexto determinado, que son normas editoriales. En Wikipedia se puede trabajar eso también. Y lo otro que para mí es también muy importante, en particular en los lugares y países en los que la educación superior es mayormente pública, o la educación pública tiene un sentido particular, y es que los proyectos Wikimedia se enmarcan en un colectivo global que se ha denominado, o se puede enmarcar en un colectivo internacional denominado una globalización contrahegemónica, que le da un marco político e ideológico a la actividad que nosotros desarrollamos en las aulas, ¿no? En el marco de universidades públicas, que adhieren también a visiones solidarias del manejo del conocimiento y de la producción de conocimiento. Eso es el sentido que tiene para mí incluir los proyectos Wikimedia en la educación.
Gracias, Fer. Te pasamos la palabra, Lu.
Bien, bueno, nosotros consideramos que los proyectos Wikimedia constituyen una propuesta a partir de la cual poder seguir reflexionando acerca de las nuevas formas de producción, comunicación y de socialización de la información. En términos de lo que plantearon anteriormente Fernando y Ramiro, que tiene que ver con la cultura libre y el acceso abierto. Creo que estos conceptos, tanto el de cultura libre como el de acceso abierto de la información, son conceptos que debemos de seguir trabajando en el ámbito educativo como una manera también de entender y de garantizar el derecho a la información y así poder participar colaborativamente también de la vida cultural, ¿no? Que un poco es la propuesta de los proyectos Wikimedia.
Gracias, Lu. Ramiro, te pasamos la última palabra.
Bien, bueno, nosotros cuando comenzamos nuestro proyecto de investigación nos planteamos algunas preguntas: ¿por qué llevar Wikipedia a la universidad? ¿Qué hace que profesores y estudiantes confíen o desconfíen en Wikipedia? ¿Por qué otros profesores de patología deberían comenzar a usar Wikipedia? Que realmente estamos convencidos y creemos que, y expresamos que los y las estudiantes con el uso de Wikipedia en las aulas se benefician no solo en el acceso a la información confiable, que permite familiarizarlos rápidamente con los temas que van abordando durante el cursado y postcursado también. Además, profundiza la literatura primaria, digamos, que a menudo es densa y difícil de digerir rápidamente, pero que aún se necesita, digamos, un mayor apoyo desde las instituciones universitarias para lograr esto, ¿no? Que se use cada vez más Wikipedia en las aulas universitarias. Especialmente en este contexto que estamos viviendo, nuestra pandemia mundial por COVID-19, creemos que ampliar este movimiento de edición de Wikipedia a otras cátedras, a otras facultades de odontología, ayudaría a cumplir con la visión que tiene Wikipedia en proporcionar acceso gratuito a la suma de todos los conocimientos relacionados con la salud humana.
Genial, buenísimo. Bueno, muchas gracias Ramiro por la respuesta y a todos obviamente por participar. Sabemos que el espacio de la charla es súper breve y esperamos que se hayan quedado con ganas también quienes nos están escuchando de conocer un poco más. La verdad que los proyectos son súper interesantes. Cada uno de los proyectos ganadores, pero también los demás que se presentaron, desarrollaron un texto escrito, que es el resultado de la investigación, que va a ser este año publicado en formato de libro por la Universidad Nacional de La Plata, así que pronto, muy pronto, estarán disponibles los proyectos para leer, los 3 que estuvimos conversando acá, el proyecto también en ganador en el tercer puesto y los demás proyectos que se presentaron, y creemos que eso también puede ser muy útil para seguir conversando, sobre todo, digamos, desde qué lugares los proyectos Wikimedia aportan a construir, incluso a deconstruir un montón de las formas en las que trabajamos en educación, tanto en el nivel universitario como en el nivel secundario. Así que bueno, les agradecemos a todos por estar y bueno, pronto tenemos más novedades al respecto de cómo sigue esta investigación. Well, thank you everyone for listening. As I was saying at the end of the video, we are really excited because this year we will be working in the book. So as soon as we have more information, we will socialize it with everyone. And if someone wants to know more about the project, you can contact us in Wikimedia Argentina whenever you want. So thank you a lot. And I will pass it to Will, that is going to present the next conversation.
Thanks, Florencia. Great to see everybody here. My name is Will Kent. I work for Wiki Education, and I am here to introduce my colleague, Sage Ross, who is going to talk about using the Programs and Events Dashboard for education programs. I'm thrilled that Sage could join us. And Sage, feel free to take it away. Thanks.
Cool, thank you. So my plan is just to basically give a demo of what Programs and Events Dashboard can do and how you can use it for education projects. So if you already use Programs and Events Dashboard, the start of it at least maybe old news to you, but then I'll have some time for about the second half of it to take questions and talk about anything that any users or interested potential users of it have. So without any further ado, I'll try to share a screen and give a demo. So this is Programs and Events Dashboard, outreach-dashboard.wmflabs.org. And it's easy to get started with it. If you're running your own Wikipedia education project in a classroom, you can just click Create an Independent Program, create a new program, and then you'll get some choices about what kind of edits you want to track. So you can do a basic program or edit-a-thon. Basic program will mean that all of the edits that users make on the wikis that you're tracking will sort of be part of it. And you can specify which wikis that you want. English Wikipedia, but I also want to track, say, Wikidata, and also French Wikiversity. And alternatively, you can use an article scoped program. And when you do this kind, then it will only track edits to articles that are specified in one way or another. So you can say which categories you want to track, which specific articles you want to track. You can do it based on templates. So if there's a wiki project template and you want to track all of the edits to articles in that wiki project, you can do it like that. Or you can do some more advanced things as well with page piles and some other tools. Once you've created a program, it'll look something like this. And for education programs in particular, one of the things that you can do is create a timeline for it. So by default, a course on the dashboard won't have the timeline tab, but you can click edit details and then timeline enabled, set that to yes. And then it will add this timeline tab where you can specify all of the activities week by week that you want to do in your course. So you can click edit project dates, and this will let you have access to a calendar where you can say, okay, these are all the meeting days of my course. It normally meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but this week is a break for my kids' school, so we're not having any classes this week, so I can mark those out. And that will be the basis for the timeline slots that show up here. And then you can add activities to any given point in the timeline. So you say, okay, well, this is the week where we want to start writing our articles. Write your articles. And then you can also assign training modules from the dashboard for any given week. So this week we want to do the editing basics training. And when you do that, then that will show up as part of the resources that are available to students on the resources tab. And they'll get reminders when they visit the dashboard of which training modules they have assigned, but they haven't completed yet. That is kind of the core of how you can use Programs and Events Dashboard for education programs. And many people are already doing it. So we can explore and see some of them in some of the programs here. And some of them are just tracking all of the edits that people are making. Some others are actively using the timelines. And if you have a timeline that represents sort of like a well-developed like syllabus, then you can copy that by cloning the program that that has that, so that you can reuse the same course plan semester after semester. That's the basics that I wanted to show off. So I want to leave plenty of time for questions and maybe a little bit of time for getting the presentation timeline back on track. So I welcome your questions.
Thanks, Sage. Let's see if we have any questions in the chat. No, we don't have any. I'm also looking at YouTube.
I have a quick question, Sage.
Yes.
Are there any example dashboards that people can see and clone?
I don't have any great ones off the top of my head, but I can certainly find some with a little bit of searching around. Did you have one in mind? Was that a leading question?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted you to show that you can see all these old or in-use dashboards.
Sure. So let's see. What's the best way to find some of those? I will. We have some examples from the chat. So here is a Wikimedia Poland one lib one ref dashboard, which looks like it is from last year. And you can see, you know, all the articles that users edited during that. Thank you, Clara. And you can see the editors and get a summary of how much of each of them added, and so on. And let's see. Any other questions or things that people want to see a little more of?
Maybe I can ask a question. We did have a chat about it before as well. So I remember a Wikimedian reached out to me a few months back regarding a limitation on how many editors you can add to the dashboard. Do you know maybe like a bit about it, like why there's a limitation for now and why it is required?
Sure. So a little while ago, I added a limit to the number of usernames that you can add. There are a couple of ways to add editors to an event that you're running. One way is by distributing the enrollment link. So if you go to the passcode part of the details section when you're viewing it, this is an enrollment link that you can copy and distribute to everyone who's going to be participating. And when they use this, if this hadn't already ended, you would see a confirmation dialog here to say, hey, are you sure you want to join this? And then you click yes, and you'll be added to it. You can add any number of users through that method, but the other method for adding users is from the editors tab. Let's see, I need to make a couple of brief changes here to make this course live. So I'm temporarily adding a campaign so that it's a live course, and then you can click add remove editors and then add multiple users at once. So this in particular is where there's a limitation. You can add up to, you can make up to 150 users this way just by adding all their usernames. But I put in a limitation because it was being used in some cases to track very large cohorts of super active users over a really long time period. For example, like all of the members of a chapter, all the activities that they've been doing sort of on a continual basis. And that like push the limits of what the dashboard system could handle in terms of keeping up with all of the updates and churning through all the data. And so to make it so that like the performance was good enough for more typical use cases, I added some limitations there. If you run into this problem and like you are running just a really large event that you want to track people over a discrete period of time for, we can lift that limit on an individual basis for programs that need it. And in the future, I think we'll probably be able to remove that limit. But at this point, I'm still too nervous to ruin performance for everyone by letting like one way too large course sort of overwhelm the system's resources.
Sorry, it takes me time from like moving my mouse from one screen to another. Yeah, thanks for answering that question, Will. I saw, I think like Clara is having a similar issue, but I think she still doesn't know like what exactly the issue is.
Yeah. Now, if I can say, now you answered my question because we had a big project with a few schools in September and October, the border of Polish and Czech Republic, and there were like I think over 200 new nicknames on Wikipedia. And so Wikimedia Czech Republic suggested that we made this dashboard. But it wasn't possible. We are during the event, like after the few weeks of editing, we realized that there is no use of this dashboard. So then we had to just track it on the like wiki project space or something. So I didn't know that it's the case, that it's the limit. So now I know. Okay. So now I should write to someone, yes?
Yeah, write to me.
Okay. So you are the someone. Okay. Because I think there will be the similar problem in future because we have like school projects and there are large schools in Poland. So all the time, or maybe it will be one class. But this was a special case because there were 5 schools, and one school had like 150 students, and there were more 4 schools. Okay, thank you. So mystery is solved. Thank you very much.
And I should probably raise the limit somewhat because I think that somewhere in that region of like 300 is probably as large as most programs involving new users.
It was the first time, you know. This usually we had like 15 to 50. Yeah, so I didn't think about it.
Any other questions?
Since maybe I'm seeing that we are right on time, but I just want to raise another question. But if there are any other question, I want to give a priority to that first. Let me quickly check into YouTube. No, and Facebook. Okay, yeah, I'm curious. Is it does dashboard have like any other limitation? Is it something that I can also track? Incubator Wiki, if I'm working with students on Incubator Wiki, can it also track like metrics for Incubator?
It can, yes, actually. I think every Wikimedia Wiki is supported. Incubator, there's several cases I know of people using it for Incubator. We can actually, let me just try to pull one up. Of course, Incubator like has interesting conventions around like languages and namespaces and sort of partitioning activity by that. But I can show you what it looks like. Let's see, I'll share my screen again. One little hidden feature of the dashboard is the usage page. which will take a moment to render here. It shows kind of like the cumulative activity. And then it also has links to, by wiki, the programs that are going on. So it's been used for Incubator Wiki for 31 programs. And we can see one here. And I'm not sure how much of this activity is mainly on Incubator, but quite a bit it looks like. So you can see that it's tracking new pages on Incubator Wiki.
Great. Thanks for answering my questions. Do you want to say anything to wrap up this session?
Just that if you are interested in using the dashboard for your education programs, and there's something that you want to be able to do, or you run into trouble with it, you can contact me and I'll try to help you out. It's something where a lot of the improvements that we do are directly in response to when someone is trying to do something and they get frustrated with it, and talk to me, and often I can update the system to make it work. So it's a little bit informal in the way that the support works, but making sure that it's meeting people's needs, especially when it comes to education programs, is one of my priorities.
Thanks, Sage. We can move on to the next session. We will have, Will, do you want to introduce the next session?
Sure. Thanks, Silesh. The next session we've got is about the Wikipedia and Education User Group, a long-running group on Wikipedia. And I think we've got a recording from them, so I will let them take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leanna Davis. I am the chair of the Wikipedia and Education User Group, and thank you for attending our session today about our user group. In my day job, I work for the Wiki Education Group, which is the nonprofit that runs the education program in the United States and Canada. I've been part of the movement for more than a decade now, and I'm really excited to talk about the work that we do as a user group today. My apologies in advance for not being here physically and having a pre-recorded video. This is the time that I need to drive my children to school. So I am unable to be there in person, but I hope everything has been going well in the session today. I am joined by the rest of the board members of the Wikipedia and Education User Group. Philip and Joao will both give pre-recorded talks after me, and then Zico and Susanna should be there live to answer any questions after this, this pre-recorded session video has been played. So let me tell you a little bit about our user group. From its history, it emerged out of the Wikipedia Education Collaborative, which was a group of education program leaders that was created before the user group structure existed. After user groups were a thing, we went through the process of formally applying through AFCOM and received our affiliation in 2018. And so at that point in time, members of the collaborative sort of merged into becoming the Wikipedia and Education User Group. Today, we are a fairly active group. I encourage you to check out our page on Meta for more information about that. We recently published our 2021 annual report, and that has lots of information about what we've got going on a regular basis, and joining our organization as a member. And Joao, our membership admin, will talk a little bit more about how you can actually do that. Another project that we have going on is our mentorship pilot, which we just wrapped up the pilot phase of, and Philip will talk a little bit more about that as well. I'll talk about a few of the other things that we have going on. So one of the great parts of the work that we do is to promote knowledge sharing and collaboration between education program leaders globally. And to do that, we host a series of open meetings. We run them every sort of quarter to every sort of 2 to 3 months, usually, plus or minus, depending on, as there are other activities going on. We're hoping to have our next one in March. And in each of those meetings, we give an opportunity for folks to introduce themselves to each other, to welcome anyone who's new to the education movement or new to our user group. And then we provide a short update from the board on the things that we have going on. And we devote most of the time in these open meetings to showcasing 2 different education program leaders and the work that they're doing in their context and how it relates to Wikipedia and education. So if we haven't featured your work yet, please do reach out. We're always looking for people to who we want to invite to be guest speakers. And we have a series of these meetings. They happen live, and you're welcome to join us as a participant live, but I know that doesn't always work for everyone's schedules. And so one of the other great things is that we also record them all. And as you can see here, we have a YouTube channel where we post all of the full videos. So if you've been unable to attend any of our past open meetings, I encourage you to go to YouTube and search for the Wikipedia and Education user group, and then you'll be able to see the past open meetings and listen to the great sessions that other contributors have done. While you're there, feel free to subscribe to our channel. The other thing that we have that we're hoping to still do at some point in the future, we had plans for an international EduWiki conference, following on the great one that happened in the Basque region several years ago. We had planned to host this, and had in fact applied for a conference grant to host it in fall 2020. Obviously, that did not happen given the global pandemic. And so we maintain our desire to gather the education program leaders globally together in an in-person conference. And so we're hoping that we will be able to do that again as soon as it is safe from a public health perspective. But until that time happens, we continue to engage virtually in our open meetings, and we encourage your participation. I'm now going to turn it over to Philip, who will talk a little bit more about our mentorship program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Filip Maljkovic, and I'm a board member of the Wikipedia and Education user group. Mentorship is something that our user group has been thinking about for a long time as a practical activity to help out the community. Actually, the idea was first proposed and conducted while we were still being known as the Wikimedia Education Collaborative, and we have had some success then. However, since we transitioned to a user group, this idea came back to us, and we wanted to make a pilot program to see whether this idea is still worth pursuing. So here is how it all happened. In late spring 2021, we publicly announced the mentorship pilot program, so people were able to apply to be mentors, mentees, or both. Throughout the survey, we tried to find out some details about people's education programs, such as specific activities, audiences, and experience they had, but also about the aspects of mentorship that they would be comfortable with. After receiving 17 form submissions, we took great care in pairing people so that we could match relevant experiences, activities, and preferred dynamic of mentorship. With all those parameters in mind, we created 9 pairs, and in late summer, kicked off the mentorship program. The idea for the pairs was to convene when appropriate and suitable for them, with limited nudging from our side, mostly just to remind them about the program about halfway through the pilot in mid-fall. So we intentionally didn't want to provide any structure for the mentorship sessions, knowing that each person has a preferred way of conducting interviews and leading conversations. On the other hand, this made sure that people weren't constrained with activities or processes that didn't apply to them, but on the other, it didn't really put any pressure on mentors or mentees to conduct these meetings. So the activities from the pilot wound down around winter holidays, and we concluded the formal activities in early February this year. Afterwards, we invited all the participants to fill out the final survey, which should give us better insight into what was good about the pilot program, but also what went wrong and how we could go about it better next time. We're still collecting data as of right now, which is mid-February, but the results so far are quite positive. So with this mentorship program, we really hope that we have helped a few people with their education programs. And my hope is that some of the conversations would continue even after the pilot is officially over. So guys, if you're still communicating or doing these talks afterwards, that's great. Of course, we would like this not to end with the pilot program, but become a regular program of the Wikipedia and Education User Group with many more mentorship pairs to come. In the future, and of course, depending on initial feedback, we might try to create some more structure around mentorships in order to make them more successful. So if you're interested in joining us next time for this journey, look out for announcements from our user group on public mailing lists, or write to us at eduwikiug@gmail.com. That is eduwikiug@gmail.com. Thank you and have a blast.
Hi everyone, this is João Pechansky speaking from São Paulo, Brazil, and I currently serve as the membership administrator for the Wikipedia and Education User Group. And I will present now how you can join our network. Our group is mostly conceived as a network for sharing experience and voicing the needs of the global Wikimedia education community. And you may join regardless of language or whether you are an individual or an organization. It is also important to know that the support and the activities we run normally does not require membership. We are an open organization, so there is almost no hurdle to join us. And basically everyone may join except for people who have been banned globally by the Wikimedia community. So how do you join? So the first thing, you need to find us on Meta Wikimedia. This is our main page, our homepage on this Wikimedia platform. And as you'll see on the bottom right corner of my screen, you have a button here, join us. And you have the opportunity to find this button and click here to become a member. And as you click, you see that there is a form that you can join, that you can fill out to actually join the group. We will require some information about yourself. And this information will only be available to myself, the membership administrator. It's not shared publicly. It's not even shared to the user group board. We only require some information to actually know who is joining us. It's also important to know that you will not receive a confirmation message, as we don't want to spam your mailing box, and we basically accept everyone. And the membership page that you can see below is updated periodically, and your username will show up at some point as part of our network. We currently have 191 members in our network, and we have supporting affiliates, 19 of them. In the form, you have the opportunity to join our low traffic mailing list, and I strongly recommend you do so, as this is where we normally share details of our meetings and we provide some information about the governance of the user group. And I hope you join. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's a lot of information, and so good to see the user group, sharing all these details, also regarding the mentorship program and how to become a member. We have Susanna from the user group. Susanna, do you want to introduce yourself and speak a bit about the user group if you want to?
Hello, everyone.
We can hear you.
Could you my screen is I can't make on my screen my camera.
It's okay, Susanna, if you want to do it without the camera. If you see okay. There's a button which says cross on camera. If you click on that, I think
I am doing, but nothing happened.
No worries. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I am vice chair of user group, Wikipedia and Education user group. And we all board members are very active on education, as you may know. If there is a questions about user group, what we are doing, and also you can ask question about my activities as well, please don't hesitate.
Thanks, Susanna. Do we have any question for the user group? Chat. We don't have any, but I can ask something. Susanna, earlier in the recording, Liana mentioned about like the community highlights that the user group does. Do you have like a particular month or a particular time when you do it?
3 months once we are inviting active educational members or not members who is active on education, and we find out that it is interesting for our members, and we send email to our members to participate. Also, if you know some activities on education, and you can apply to mail us, and we will include your presentation in our open meetings. Yeah.
For sure. I think that's a good idea. If anyone wants to like share, so this was one of the community showcase session, but it's not the only one. There are many ways you can share your work. You can be a part of the user group meetings, and as Liana mentioned earlier in the call, and also like Susanna included, that you can share your work. Like they share 2 community highlights in their meetings. So write to Susanna and write to Liana about it.
Okay. Also, if you know about some activities and you want to listen to know about it, you can send email, and we will organize meeting.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Susanna. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to say something else?
Also, as Liana mentioned, all our open meetings we recorded, and you can find it on our channel on YouTube. Unfortunately, Zico is ill, and only me. I am here.
Yeah, I'm sending him good wishes to get well soon. Thanks for joining, Susanna. It's great. I mean, we just had like 3 hours of community showcase. We heard so many stories from many communities and from different parts of the world. I would ask all the I mean co-organizers, co-conspirators, whatever I want to use, to like maybe share a bit about like what was exciting for them to be part of this event, or or about this organizing committee, or about this EduWiki week. Then we can stop this live. I know like Emerald has been awake from like 5 a.m. in her morning to support us. Emerald, that's like real. We appreciate that a lot. And thanks for helping us to share our community stories. And we know it's something that we cannot like, how do I frame it? Like, do when like to put you in a bad position to support us, but yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate that a lot. Back like sharing the floor with like my co-conspirators or co-organizers.
Thank you. You are welcome.
Clara, Florencia, Will. Okay, so Florencia.
I can take the word. Thank you, Sailesh. I'm just really happy because we could do this event. We really work a lot during January and February, but especially it's really good to hear about all the work that is being done all over the wiki world about education. I really learn a lot, and I think that every project is really meaningful in each context and for each student or teacher that receive the information or that enter to the world of Wikimedia for the first time or for the second time. It's really exciting. So I think that listening and sharing everything that we are doing is really inspiring for everyone. I'm really happy about that, and thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah, I can write down under Florencia words, and thank you for all these wonderful speeches and presentations. I also learned a lot, and Silas, really, you have been handling with us for months. And for me, it was especially interesting to make something from in Poland we say from A to Z, yes, like from the beginning, from the scratch, and especially from A to Z, it's like educational metaphor. So I was thinking about this like this, that we are building something. And these recordings will be shared, because I already know that in Wikimedia Poland we will use some of these speeches to educate. And so thank you also for this effort with subtitles and everything. Yeah, and it was nice to work with you and see you all today.
I'm always struck by the power of a global movement, and there's always so much happening that I think having events like this are the only way I can ever find out about some things that are happening around the world. And I think it's super inspirational to hear what people are doing and learn how they do it, and be encouraged to try it locally, wherever that might be for you. So I loved learning about all of these things, and hope that we can continue to do this, and hopefully sooner than later in person. So this was a thrill for me, and I see there are some hands going up, so that's my piece. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, thanks, Will. Yeah, I'll take the hands, the questions or the comments next. But I also want to include Violta, Kashyap, and Elfego for supporting us in organizing this event. But this is not the end. We have 2 more days. There are more live sessions. There are more themes for the days and some trivias. So do participate and, join us, share your stories, and we're happy to support you in your work. I'll go with the first hand raised. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Chimenzi?
Yeah, you got it right. Chiemeze, you got it. So it is just to appreciate everyone for this wonderful section. I'm so excited, so energized, so ready to work. I particularly wish to appreciate Ngozi Sadebe for introducing me to the community. And from all I have listened to, all I have learned today, I am already I'm already thinking of how, strategically what I can do, what we can do together to ensure that we grow the community. We live in university community where we have some brilliant young people that we can engage in this work. And so we are going to be leveraging on that to see what, to ensure that we contribute. I'm so happy and I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Chimezi. We have Gozi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly.
You got it. Yes, you got it. Ngozi. Yeah. I'm sorry, my people. I came late. So many things I almost forgot. But I joined about 10 minutes ago. But I have a problem here. I have been in Wikipedia, editing Wikipedia since 2017. I'm a lecturer at the University of Nigeria. I'm a librarian, so I organize Wikipedia editing for the university. But we have been having problems. Each time we have trainings, we are always being blocked. By the time people create their, the editors start creating their accounts, even to learn the editing, by the time new editors start creating the account, somebody will just block them. Several letters asking that we are having a program, please unblock us. All this yielded no favorite response. So I don't know if there is a way we can be helped. In fact, this year, actually, we have not applied. Personally, I have not applied to participate in Editathon this year because I am afraid of these blockages. So I don't know, is there any way we can be helped to say that we are having trainings, we are having Editathon, please don't block us.
I can answer that we have the same problem. We, not once, but many times in Poland, when there are many students at once, for example, creating accounts or doing new edits. So my answer is that it's good to have someone with administrational skills, and there is a quick path, and he was just standing and asking what is the nickname, okay, and he was writing someone, and then he was unblocked. I couldn't do it myself, although I'm editor, but you have to have higher rank, I think. Also, he told me that it's good to contact before the event and saying that you will be organizing such event. Yes, am I right, Florencia Silas? Because it helped us.
Yes, we have also the same issue, and sometimes we suggest students or teachers to do the accounts on their houses if they have internet, because it's a problem of making new usernames in the same IP place.
Yes,
Sorry, my English is not so technical. So when a lot of people is doing usernames at the same moment with the same internet, it blocks. It's like something automatically happening all over the world. So we suggest people to do it at their houses or maybe with their phones in that place, but not on Wi-Fi with their own internet if they have it. Of course, it's a problem if people don't have internet in their houses, because we know not everyone can have that right. But that's a solution. And also what Clara said, maybe to advise some administrator of Wikipedia, in our case in Spanish, that we know, and so we can have some help with them so they unlock or unblock the usernames we are creating. But that is something that is happening all over the world, so it's really interesting you bring it here because it's an education issue for all of us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I understand the frustration because it takes time also that we are gathering to edit, and suddenly there is a huge panic what's going on and blocking and calling someone. So maybe this is our outcome from this session also, to make something with this, or maybe write somewhere that what should you do if you spot such a problem. So
Indeed.
thank you also.
Sorry, I'm just asking, like, do you normally like organize these trainings for like English Wikipedia? I know Says has been a long time volunteer for English Wikipedia. Says, do you want to share like what, if you have like faced similar challenges? If you're with us, Sage.
Sorry, briefly catch me up.
Oh yeah. Just before I ask that question, after like Says answers this question, Emerald, you can stop the live stream. I think we can stop it right now and continue our connection place. So Gyozi, she faces like a challenge with like